Sometimes I'm gaining, then again I'm losing. Sometimes I'm rising, yes sir, then again I'm falling. Sometimes I'm gaining, then again I'm losing. Sometimes I'm rising, yes sir, then again I'm falling. Let Jesus work it out. Please your Father would work it out. Oh, let God work it out. Please your Father would work it out. Oh, let God work it out. Please your Father would work it out. Oh, let God work it out. Oh, work it out. You work it out for Mother Lisa. Sometimes I'm gaining, then again I'm losing. Sometimes I'm rising, yes sir, then again I'm falling. Sometimes I'm gaining, then again I'm
All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is David Patrick Harry with Church of the Eternal Logos, and I am joined again by my friend, the researcher, movie critic, literary critic, Baselit Analyzer. How you doing today, sir?
Pretty good, man. What's up? What's up, y'all? You ready to get into some Indiana Jones? Let's
That's
go.
right.
This is gonna be a good one. Yeah.
Yes, and special shout out goes to Aaron. Shout out to Aaron Head for sponsoring today's stream. He reached out and he requested a second episode of me and BLA doing a movie review. He actually sponsored the last one on the Devil's Advocate, and he sponsored this one again. So again, everybody show a little appreciation. Shout out to Aaron for sponsoring this stream and giving some love to both of us and our work. So God bless you, bro.
Yeah, thank you so much, Aaron, down there in Mississippi. Appreciate you, homeboy.
Yes, that's right.
Thank you for supporting us.
Yeah, definitely appreciate it. And today's going to be interesting. We'll be getting in a variety of topics. We'll be talking everything from Steven Spielberg to the Ark of the Covenant to occultism and the Nazis, even a little Harrison Ford action going on. So we'll be getting into a lot of stuff today.
Yeah, this is a good one.
Yeah, I know that you're kind of excited. This is right in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, yeah, this is great. I mean, Indiana Jones, and I've seen this movie like 4,000 times. I don't know about y'all. I don't know about y'all in the audience, but this is going to be a good one. And it's interesting because, you know, it's like the blockbuster movie, but the themes in it are surprisingly. I mean, there's obviously an explicitly occult theme in this one.
Right.
So we're going to get very esoteric in this one.
Yeah, and and again, we'll touch a little bit. I got a very special reference to even a book that is explicitly related to some of the occult interest of the Third Reich and mean Mr. Mustache Man. So we'll be again touching on all that. Before we get into it, what do you got going on? Anything you want to promote and share with the people before we get into the topic at hand? What's kind of new with you?
Yeah, let's do some self-plugging here. Everybody, I saw all of our homeboys in the chat, homegirls and homeboys in the chat last night. I did a post-apocalyptic themed stream on some literature and talked a little bit about the Book of Eli, which I'd love to cover with you sometime more in depth. And it's a great film. Also, you can catch me on TNT Radio Live. I've done 3 radio appearances there now with our friend Hesher from the Boiler Room, and I've got a stream coming up in 2 weeks, about a week and a half, I guess, with Jay's analysis, Jay Dyer, talking about the movie Network from 1976. So just trying to keep on rolling, keep on LIVIN. How about you, sir?
Same old thing, man. I'm actually getting ready to fly to Germany Tuesday. So Tuesday I'll be flying from Chicago to Dublin to Frankfurt, Germany, and spending a couple weeks over there with my girlfriend and her family.
Right, but it was actually this film that inspired you.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Ironically, it all get brought together thanks to, again, shout out to Aaron for sponsoring today's stream. It all gets brought together. So I'm going on my own little Indiana Jones extravaganza.
Right, but it's good. It's good you're flying through the old country there. You're gonna stop over and what? Are you flying through Dublin? Through Dublin?
Yeah. I'm flying on Aer Lingus?
Yeah, flying on old Aer Lingus there. It's funny because when you have you ever flown Aer Lingus before?
No.
Oh man, it's crazy because I used to fly Aer Lingus all the time. And you get on the plane, it's normal, everybody's sitting down, and then once they turn the seatbelt light off, everyone gets up on the plane. Right, how you doing? Right, I saw you down at the pub. Right, everybody knows each other. Yeah, I mean, I've seen randomly 2 old classmates like on different flights flying back and forth from America, just like on random planes, like in different years. So it's fun. It's a big family there.
Interesting. Yeah. So who knows what I'll be getting into? I'll be connecting from Indianapolis to Chicago to Dublin, and Dublin to Frankfurt.
Yeah.
And then I'll be 2 weeks in Stuttgart in southern Germany. And I plan on maybe doing a meetup. So I know there's a couple of guys in on my Telegram that are actually in Stuttgart. So we'll be doing a meetup there. And then we're going to be spending 4 days in Thessaloniki. Shout out to Charzanis, one of our premium members, one of my friends. He's going to be showing us around town there in Thessaloniki. And obviously, women can't go to Mount Athos, but we will be taking the tourist cruise, so my girlfriend can go with us, where they dock at Mount Athos and monks kind of bring stuff. So we'll do that, and I think we'll be going to the grave of Saint Paisios, maybe hitting a monastery in Thessaloniki, and then going to like a nice hotel, hitting the beach. Hopefully it's warm. It looked like it's been raining a lot over there in Greece.
Right. Right. Have you been to Greece before?
Never.
No.
Never been to Europe. I've been all over East Asia.
Oh.
Yeah, I've been the furthest part, East Asia, but I've never been to Europe. So this is my first time to Europe.
I did it. I was on a 3-day cruise around the Aegean when I was 14.
Ooh.
And but that was at the tail end of like a 14-day trip through Italy and Greece. And I was so hungover when I first got I was 14. I was so hungover when I first got on the cruise that we slept the whole first day.
Oh my gosh.
But then you could still buy cigarettes and alcohol on the cruise as a 14-year-old. So it was pretty cool.
Awesome. I wanted to say before we get into it, guys, I do got new members content up over at the website, and I got another video that I'll be posting today. And then I hope to share one more about a little insight into my own personal life and some of the things going on. But the best way that you can support me, if you appreciate what we're doing here over at Church of the Eternal Logos, you can become a website member. And to do so, you go to the website here. The link is posted right here in the live chat. We got multiple different membership options now. So feel free to sign up, whichever seems convenient for you. Also, obviously, I'm going to be gone for a couple weeks. But if anybody is interested in signing up for a one-on-one session, by the way, you go to my website, you can join our email list, totally free, no money involved. Just go to the website, wait there for 20 seconds. This window will pop up. Put your email in, first and last name. You'll be included into the COTEL email list. If you'd like to sign up for a one-on-one session, you can do so right here. Or if you want to sign up for multiple sessions, that's also a package deal. You get a discount on multiple sessions. If anybody, again, major shout out to Aaron today for sponsoring today's stream. If anybody would like to sponsor a stream, you can, again, do so over at the website. I'll share that link right here. And again, BLA and I are in business. So if you actually have a preference to do a movie review, go sign up and we'll do your movie review. So shout out to Aaron. This was what his personal request was. And I kind of reached out to BLA last time just to see if he was interested. And so we'll start doing this more frequently. It seems like people like it. If you guys want to do movie reviews, because we definitely have very different expertise. So BLA and I, we don't really cross over regards to our expertise so much. So I think it's a good mix. People apparently love when we get on here and yabber on about movies. If that's something you'd be interested in, sign up for a sponsored stream, or if you have something you'd like me to dive into. Also, again, here's some of the members' videos that we got up. Again, new ones on Christian monarchy, a stream that was banned by YouTube. And then here's one on St. Justinian's restoration of the Roman Empire. I'll be posting another video on the Byzantine Empire that will be posted, and then one more. So 2 more members' videos will be up before I leave for Germany. So if you guys want to have access to this, again, this goes back like 7 pages. If I go to the 7th page here, again, we got all types of stuff. This goes back all the way to 2020. So if that's something you guys would be interested in, you can sign up for that. And again, also don't forget, I mentioned this last time, I got a deal with Orthodox Depot. So you can go buy, again, icons, books, prayer robes, necklaces, get 10% off. Just put in promo code COTEL. You'll get 10% off. It helps me out. We do a little sharing there of the goods. So if you have anything Orthodox related, if they have what you're looking for, buy it from Orthodox Depot. Put in promo code COTEL. It helps both of us out. So anyways, with that being said, now let's get into today's topic. So again, Mr. Aaron Head wanted us to dive into, as you said, basically a classic and a Hollywood blockbuster classic, Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark. Where do you want to open up today, BLA, on this topic? Seems like we can go a lot of different places.
Let's see. Well, Charisma Mysterian says that he likes the part where he says the penitent man shall pass. The penitent man shall pass. That's Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. That's the third Indiana Jones. We're doing the first one, Raiders of the Lost Ark. So I guess we should start talking about. I mean, you just want to dive into the movie. I didn't
know let's do grand overviews. What are your big takeaways? Grand overviews of the movie.
Well, my my kind of takeaway thoughts about this movie are that, one, it's a 1981 film, and it's directed by Steven Spielberg, produced, written by George Lucas. And I mean, this is a Lucas film. And what's crazy is that, with the success of Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back, then we have like this, it veers off into this completely different genre. And then we have like one of the most successful franchises of all time with Harrison Ford. And it's crazy because the movie, when you think about the movie, it really is kind of a B movie. Like the way the story goes, the way the characters are, the plot line. I mean, I know that Klaus Kinski was asked to be in the film. They wanted him to be Todd, the guy in the black leather jacket, the Nazi torturer guy. And he passed on it because he was like, no, the script is terrible. But that was, what a mistake. Now, again, he also took a different film, which has been totally forgotten, but he took it because he got a higher paycheck. Okay, so, an actor's got to work or whatever, but like, big mistake. One of the things that Lucas did with this film was, he took a smaller cut of the upfront, and then he took a bigger cut of the back end of the movie, like he did with Star Wars, and he walked away with like 50% of the money from the movie. So that allowed him to. I mean, it was the biggest movie of 1981. It won 4 Oscars. It was nominated for Best Picture. It's one of the biggest franchises of all time. It spawned like a whole series of derivative movies, and it's still big in the kind of pop culture consciousness of cinema itself. But interestingly, like, the movie is so good because critics love the movie. People love the movie. They still love the movie, and it's kind of timeless. Well, it is. I mean, it really is timeless. But it's like that because it's a huge blockbuster movie that doesn't talk down to the audience, and it doesn't like. This is before they had to make any kind of compromises in terms of the content. So it's interesting that there's spicy content in this. There's a lot of spicy content, and there's a lot that we're going to read into it, especially in an esoteric sense. Right. But it's so well done. One other thing before I pass this on is that Steven Soderbergh, who I think is one of the great sort of contemporary directors, did a cut of the movie a couple years ago where he put the whole film in black and white and took out the score and took out the dialogue, and he just showed that. And he did that because he wanted to bring out the editing in the movie, how seamless the editing is, how well the movie's edited. I mean, it's really a fantastic movie. This is like one of those movie makers movies, which doesn't often. So a lot of times it's not the case with a big blockbuster movie like this. It's more of an art house movie that would do that. But this one is just so well done, and there's so much to sort of dissect and deconstruct when we get to it. So it's a great film.
Yeah, rewatching it, one of the things that stand out again is 1981. So I was thinking some of the blood, like in the action scenes, trying to be a little bit more realistic. I thought that was really interesting that it's a mixture of sort of like, again, Lucas said he wanted to make like a B movie, but you have like funny one-liners, pretty intense content that's talking about at the same time showing a little bit of gore and violence. I mean, we're talking about people getting shot in the head, stuff like this, challenging, I'm sure, especially 1980s America. So that was interesting. Me coming at it, I remember growing up, one of the things I loved about Indiana Jones was this idea of the sort of hero academic, right? This archaeologist that was out in the world. So he was kind of always the scholastic inspiration. James Bond is cool, but I never wanted to be a secret agent. But the idea of like learning about world religions and history and esoteric knowledge and living mysteries, right? Where some of these archaeological items might be found. Indiana Jones is an interesting bridge for people like that. You don't see many action heroes that are sort of rooted in this sort of academic culture and rigor. In this one, he's a professor. You see the girl close her eyes, says "love you," "I love you" on her eyelid. Yeah. So he's like the handsome young professor who's also this world hero. Rescuing the world from the occult inspirations of the Third Reich and stuff like that. So I thought it's really interesting. Again, the whole point of this movie is that the Nazis are after the Ark of the Covenant, and I'm going to pull up here in a few, like what, the Ark of the Covenant and why this was an interesting object. But the fact that the Nazis were obsessed with the occult, as you know, and you have a book over there that we'll touch on, that's a fact, and I had to get this book, given the topic is Magic, History, Theory, and Practice. It's a small little book. It's not very big at all, but this particular book, according to the person who edited this particular book was written by Dr. Ernst Schertl, and it was published in the 1930s, so right around the time period of our movie taking place here. I think it's 1936, our movie's taking place. That this book was actually published, I think, in 1931. And when they looked into and discovered Hitler's library, this book particularly was highly worn and exhausted with annotated footnotes. And it's all about really getting into and utilizing the energies of black magic. And this book's fairly explicit about what it's trying to do and how it can manipulate the world through ritual, through symbols, through language, and through the exhaustion of one's will. So this is right around, obviously, Aleister Crowley is going to have influence because Crowley is going to be right there at the end of the Victorian period and the 1880s, 1890s, early 20th century. And so his whole thelemic occultism about will, establishing a will for domination, this thing is building upon it. So it's really interesting that this book right here is really connecting a lot of different theories. Again, that it's literally called Magic, History, Theory, and Practice, emphasizing occultism. And we know the swastika itself comes from East Asia, and the idea that this symbol of power. When I'm in China, for example, anybody goes to China knows that the swastika that spins clockwise is a symbol for the sun. And so all vegetarian food in China has a swastika on it. It lets you know that it's plant-based and it's grown from the sun. The Nazi swastika is technically a counter clockwise rotating swastika. And this was considered like the tantric or the left-handed path. Again, as Christians, we would call it the satanic path or black magic or something of that nature. So the swastika itself is something that the Nazis were very much getting from the occult and Eastern mystical traditions, specifically Tibetan Buddhism, which this movie touches in Nepal, but it doesn't get into that whole emphasis on Tibet in the same way. What you got?
This is it's the Hakenkreuz. Right? This is it's a diagram of the book talks about it, about the swastika and the origins of it, along with the runes, the various runes that were used on the Nazi uniforms and on their flags. It also in the film, if you notice, Paul Freeman, who plays Belloc, say, he says, "Do as you will" at one point.
Yes, I did notice that.
Yeah, and the ceremony. I mean, I don't know if they meant to do this, but it looks like it. The ceremony and the ritual that they do when they actually open the Ark of the Covenant, he does like some sort of Masonic OTO ritual, and because he's dressed in the same clothes that Crowley was dressed in when he did his Horus ritual in the desert, right? When he's got like a turban on and he's holding a staff with like a goat head on it,
right? And
the words that he says are. I don't think are part of OTO, but it is interesting. One other point, like DPH was just mentioning the blood in the film, and one thing that's interesting is that it is a violent film. There is a high body count in the movie, but blood. I think one of the things that they did in this was blood started to be shown on screen with, I think, Bonnie and Clyde. Was it 1969, late 60s, with Warren Beatty was one of the Faye Dunaway was one of the first films, or the first film to show blood on screen.
Okay,
blood squib. But this, and then the 70s was all about the gritty realism and showing blood. But this movie, if you notice that the blood stains aren't liquid. It's actually, they used cayenne pepper, a powder, in the squib. So it looks like blood, but it doesn't look like blood. So it's kind of tamped down.
Oh,
and so And one thing I think the reason they did that was because they're making a huge blockbuster film and they're really setting the stage for what happens in the rest of the 80s. I did a stream on Don Simpson and High Concept. I mean, that's seems like it'd be totally different from this film, but it does take a lot from this. I mean, really remember the first blockbuster film, the film that like is the first, that's where they came up with the idea of the blockbuster, the summer blockbuster, was Jaws. It was Steven Spielberg's Jaws. And so they sort of take that and then they make this film where they're talking about the present. And obviously this is still relevant now, but it's all set in the past. So again, the past is prologue for the great works of art. And I think that's important. I think that like sort of informs a lot of the art in the movie. What was the other point you made? I'll have to think of it.
Occultism.
Yeah, I mean the occultism in the movie is crazy. I mean, I know what it was. It was when you were talking about him as about Bond movies, right? Well, one thing that the movie does is it's ironic because it isn't a spy movie, but it actually is a spy movie because
kind of is, yeah.
Yeah, because Indiana Jones is working for Army Intel, right. And it's OSS who comes to speak to him, and he goes on. He's essentially a contractor working for he's working for the museum, and he's all that stuff. But he's a contractor trying to source out this stuff because he's the Yale expert. He teaches at Yale, and so he's working for intelligence, and he ends up being an operative just like Bond, but it's an American version of that. And what's crazy is that Bond is just he's a killer. He's like an MK Delta killer. He's an assassin.
And I've watched all the Bonds, by the way. People say I wasn't saying I didn't like Bond. It was just this is more of an academic angle. Continue.
Yeah, it definitely is. And actually that ends up being I don't want to say more true to life because the Bond stuff is also true to life, but it was in the same era. But this is an angle that we don't usually get, which is the ties. I mean, Jay's written 2 books about this. It's the ties between intelligence and academia, right? Who would have, I mean, most people still probably have no idea that like the Yale professor in archaeology, like is part of the intelligence apparatus. They just don't put that together, even though it's explicitly in the film. So I don't know. It's interesting. I think that, Indiana Jones did 2 things to the field of archaeology. Like it was the best thing and the worst thing. It was the best thing because that probably 75% of people who went into the field of archaeology, especially in the 80s and 90s, like got that inspiration from this film. Right. So that's great. But it's also bad because the people go into it expecting to be like Indiana Jones when instead they're just like dusting off, plastic dino bones or whatever.
Yeah, plastic dino bones. They were already set there.
They were set there by the Lucasfilm crew 5 years before that for a movie set, and then they find them in the desert.
Right. One of the other things that I wanted to bring up is that this book was intended to be a sort of Jewish revenge on the Nazis. And so the idea that the Ark of the Covenant, a specifically Old Testament item, a specifically Jewish item that represents the Israelite power in the favored and dominion under Yahweh, is what then leads to the destruction of the Nazis, or at least undermining their potential to have like global hegemony and domination. And so, which we're going to touch on again as we go through the film. But one of the interesting things that I wanted to highlight with this book right here, this is called Transhumanism, A History of a Dangerous Idea. Not that this has anything to do with transhumanism, but this researcher, David Livingston, has a whole chapter in here that's really interesting, talking about this concept that really got going during the rise of the Third Reich and some of their emphasis on the occult, and specifically Tibet, because they, in focusing on occultism, got very much interested in Kabbalah, which is obviously the Zohar, it's Jewish, all this type of stuff. And so because of the Jewish connection to Kabbalah, there is this belief that actually the Aryans had this mystical tradition before the Jews got it, and codified it into what we call like the Zohar, Kabbalistic practices. Or what? Again, the Zohar comes about in the 13th century. So we're talking about the 1200s. So the Zohar comes much later. It's actually debated by academics how old Kabbalah is. But according to Kabbalists, Kabbalah predates Christ. And so they claim it goes back to the Old Testament days. Researchers and stuff looking into this, especially the Third Reich, believe that they got it during their exile phase in Babylon. And so because they received this in Babylon, the belief was that actually who had the wisdom or the ideas that the Kabbalah is based on were the Aryans. And specifically, they believe that Tibetan Buddhism sort of codified this stuff. And this will play actually later in the other Indiana Jones when they go to Tibet. So I thought that's really interesting because part of the emphasis on the occult, the Nazis actually believed that they were recovering some of the root foundations of the Aryan. Again, we're talking about Indo-European when I say Aryan. The Indo-Europeans were the basis of what they believed was the Jewish Kabbalah. And so I thought that's really interesting when we start talking about all this magical stuff, because the premise is that the Jews are taking revenge, basically, again, theoretically, not that it's explicit in the movie, but it's that this is movies sort of mocking the idea that the Jews get revenge and destroy the Nazis through the Ark of the Covenant. But at the same time, what was a catalyst for the Nazis to go and try to find all this occult stuff was a belief that the Indo-Europeans were the basis of Jewish Kabbalah, and that they were going to try to recover the origins of this stuff, which they believed was most codified in Tibetan Buddhism. So I thought that was interesting. Wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, the Egyptian element in this is also interesting, and we know that, especially because of Crowley, about the Egyptian influence on occult rituals, and it's kind of related to Kabbalah, and it's interesting that they filmed the movie in Tunisia, and that Tutankhamun's Tutankhamun. They found Tutankhamun. They find his tomb at Tanis, and then that's where they're going to find the staff of Ra, which is going to take them, and they're going to find the roots. But like that, they do a good job in this movie of sort of mixing both. They're opening the Ark of the Covenant with like a guy dressed as a sort of a proto Egyptian occultic priest, right. And so it's pretty interesting.
Which to me is connecting the idea that the Nazis and the Egyptians are the same, right?
Yeah.
That the Jews, again, Yahweh, God's providence, delivers the Jews from the Egyptians. And in the same way, the Ark of the Covenant comes back and rescues them again and delivers them from the Nazis, right? Yeah. So that's where I saw this movie constantly symbolically for me, making the association that the Egyptians, the Egyptian magic, the Egyptian control, all this stuff, this is again being connected with, again, the Nazis and what they're doing. And so both of them, it's going to be the Ark, because where does the Ark of the Covenant come from? That's what I was again wanting to bring up. It's actually from Moses during their so after they flee Egypt. It's the 40 days on Mount Sinai is when, according to the Old Testament, that's when Moses is commanded to actually build the Ark of the Covenant. So right here, construction, according to the book of Exodus, God instructed Moses to build the Ark during his 40-day stay upon Mount Sinai. He was shown the pattern for the tabernacle and furnishings of the Ark and told that it would be made of shittim wood, an acacia wood, to house the tablets of stone. Moses instructed Bezalel and Oholiab to construct the Ark. So, and of course, obviously tied with that is the 10 Commandments. So what does God give them? An ark, which again, I think connects back with Noah's Ark, another refuge for the chosen people to move through a tumultuous world. He's going to rescue those people and preserve those people. And then, of course, the 10 Commandments in regards to a moral prescription for how to move through space and time. Which again, the Nazis are going to be obviously representative of those who are violating the 10 Commandments in a way, just regards to them being the sort of semiotic and symbol of what they are. Yeah,
it's interesting that the the Ark of the Covenant. I mean, they mentioned this in the movie that the Ark of the Covenant is housed in the Temple of Solomon, and then is removed, and then is removed again, and that during the ritual again where they open it, it's the contractor Belloc who works for them that dresses in the sort of does the sort of Masonic ceremony of opening it, but the Nazis standing around they're up there, but they don't take part in it. And that you remember when they open it and it's sand and the two guys are laughing, right? So it's like they're using it for, I mean, they're still using it for power, but of a different sort. I don't know.
Right. You could see the skepticism of some of the Nazis at the end of the movie when they open it. And to me, again, emblematic of sort of God's dominion over all creation, right? So we're made from the dust and the dirt of creation. And so even a box filled with sand, though, is at the same time being described as like one of the most powerful objects in human history, right?
Yeah.
One of the most powerful objects anybody can possess because it can defeat your foes and your enemies. And so, yeah, and it's interesting, too, that it's like this very ritualistic, magical presentation when Balak is opening it, because he's still using the Hebrew word. So he's using these Hebrew words of power to command this ritual to take place, if you will. Guys, we got over 100 people here. Smash that like, guys. It looks like a few of you haven't smashed that like. Please show us some love for BLA being here. And again, major shout out to Aaron Head for sponsoring today's stream. Yeah, so here in the Solomon's Temple, just so people can be a little bit familiar with like the premise of the movie here, is according to the biblical narrative, when Abathar was dismissed from his priesthood by King Solomon for having taken part of Adonijah's conspiracy against David, his life was spared because he had formerly borne the ark. Solomon worshipped before the ark after his dream in which God promised him wisdom. During the construction of Solomon's temple, a special inner room named the Holy of Holies was prepared to receive and house the ark. And when the temple was dedicated, the ark containing the original tablets of the Ten Commandments was placed therein. When the priest emerged from the holy place, after placing the ark there, the temple was filled with a cloud, for the glory of God had filled the house with the Lord. So we see this sort of cloud symbolism emerges when Balak does that ritual, right? They look into the Ark of the Covenant, and it looks like a swirling storm, if you will. So we see that. I also wanted to get into theories about. So eventually, the Babylonians, again, during the diaspora, they conquer and destroy Jerusalem, and nobody really knows where the temple went. So it's believed they destroyed the temple. Again, the Babylonians destroyed Jerusalem and Solomon's temple. There's no record of what became of the ark in the books of Kings, Chronicles. An ancient Greek version of the biblical third book of Ezra, First Ezra, suggested that the Babylonians took away the vessels of the ark of God, but does not mention taking away the ark. Rabbinic literature, the final disposition of the ark is disputed. Some rabbis hold that it must have been carried off to Babylon, while others hold that it must have been hidden lest it be carried off into Babylon and never brought back. A late 2nd century rabbinic work states that the opinions of the rabbis that Josiah, the king of Judah, stored away the ark along with a jar of manna and a jar containing the holy anointing oil, the rod of Aaron, which budded with a crest given to Israel by the Philistines. This was said to have been done in order to prevent their being carried off into Babylon, as had already happened to the other vessels. Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Shimon, in the same rabbinic work, state that the ark was in fact taken into Babylon. Rabbi Yehuda, dissenting, says that the ark was stored away in its own place, meaning somewhere in the Temple Mount. Now, eventually, there are stories, again, that, for example, the Philistines took the ark and they captured it from the Egyptians. Didn't work out too well for them. A lot of tragedies, them trying to use the ark against the Jews. However, conspiracies abound about where the ark is. So this is something that we don't, quote, actually know where the authentic, real Ark of the Covenant is. I've always speculated, back when I was interested in this topic, it was Ethiopia. So in our movie, they say it's in Tanis, Egypt. They claim that it's in Tanis. Maybe, again, nobody really knows, but according to part of the the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, here at this particular church, the Chapel of the Tablet Church of Our Lady Mary of Zion in Oxum, allegedly houses the original Ark of the Covenant. Now, if you look into it, there's a British soldier. Let's see down here, Edward Ullendorf. He was a former British soldier who said he actually was able, because these are guarded, and the men who guard the Ark guard it with their lives, so they take it very, very seriously. The book by Graham Hancock, most people are going to know about Graham Hancock. He wrote a book in 1992 called The Sign and the Seal. His wife is Ethiopian, and when he was in Ethiopia doing the research for his book, I believe that's when he met his wife and got married. But this claims that they still have the original Ark of the Covenant. The Ethiopians do. Now, we know that the Ethiopians have one of the oldest Jewish and the oldest Christian groups in history. But this British soldier in 1941, somehow the British Army basically forced their way in. And when they looked at it, he claims that they have a wooden box, but it's empty. Middle to late medieval construction, when these things were fabricated ad hoc. So he claims that he actually went in there through the power of the British military. They looked at it and said, these people just have a wooden box and there's nothing in it. Is that true? I don't know. I don't know. It was don't you know?
Don't you know it was guarded by 4 Rastafarians, you know? You coming to Zimbabwe and Ethiopia looking for the box, man. Screwface gonna get your bomber clot, bo.
Yeah. So where is the true Ark of the Covenant? I don't know. You know. And then as Orthodox, it's kind of less important now. The church, in a way, is the new Ark. It is Noah's Ark. It is the Ark of the Covenant. It is that thing which the enemies of God will not be able to destroy, as Christ said. So, yeah, interesting. But there are, again, multiple theories. One is that it's in Ethiopia. Others believe that it's in Southern Africa. Again, the Limba people of Zimbabwe have claimed that their ancestors carried the Ark south, calling it the voice of God, and eventually hiding it in a deep cave in the Dumgi Mountains, their spiritual home. There is one claim that was even backed by a rabbi Eliezer ben Jose, stated that he saw the Ark and the mercy seat in Rome. So does Rome have the Ark of the Covenant? Is it in that Vatican library or that Vatican basement that's miles and miles long with who knows what's in it? Some people believe so. This one surprised. I was not aware of this, that at the early 20th century, British Israelites carried out some excavations of the hill in Tara in Ireland. Yeah. Oh, Tara. In Ireland, looking for the Ark of the Covenant, and the Royal Society of Antiquities of Ireland campaigned successfully to have them stop before they destroyed the entire hill, looking for the Ark of the Covenant. I wasn't aware of that. Were you aware of that?
Look, you see that hill? That's got the Ark of the Covenant. We're gonna put a car bomb on it. We're gonna blow it up. We're gonna try and get that Ark. Right? Yeah, I was aware of that. Yeah, because you know, this is, I mean, you've talked about the Roslyn Chapel, and there's a, you know, Joseph of Arimathea. Right. And so a lot of that deals with especially in Ulster. And the Hill of Tara and a lot of these, like the Giant's Ring in Northern Ireland, I mean, they're Neolithic circles. So they think that, you know, that it may house some of these things. It's interesting that there's also Grail lore tied up with the Ark of the Covenant, and Hotler himself was interested in that. I mean, they sent expeditions looking for the Lance of Longinus. They claimed that the house of, like, the Hohenzollern house museum has the Lance of Longinus. So it's probably, you know, it's not it, but they looked for the Lance of Longinus, the piece of the Holy Rood, the True Cross, and the Ark of the Covenant, all as like the things that would constitute the Grail. I think that the Holy Grail in Arthurian literature is the Eucharist. But you know, but that's all tied up with it. So,
right. Yeah. So I just wanted to make points of that. And just the fact that, again, as people know, the Nazis were in fact obsessed with occultism. And so the association of Nazis with occultism occurs in a wide range of theory, speculation, and research. Such ideas have flourished in popular culture, yada, yada. But as you highlighted, historian Nicholas Goodrich Clark, which is a Western esoteric scholar, and he is a legitimate scholar. This isn't like Graham Hancock or some more not saying that Graham Hancock hasn't maybe said truthful things, but
Let me get the book.
Yeah, Goodrich Clark, he's a real scholar. I actually have multiple of his Western esoteric books. So he's a scholar in Western esotericism. Analyzed the topic in his book, 1985, The Occult Roots of Nazism, which BLA has, in which he argued there were, in fact, links between the ideals of Ariosophy and Nazi ideology. He has also analyzed the problems of the numerous popular occult historiography books written on the topic. Goodrich Clark sought to separate empiricism and sociology from modern-day mythology of Nazi occultism that exists in many books, which, quote, have represented the Nazi phenomenon as the product of arcane and demonic influence. He evaluated most of the 1960s and 75 books on Nazi occultism as sensational and under-researched.
So here's Goodrich Clark's book. I'm not going to put my face in this. I don't want my face to be in the screenshot with this. And then that book discusses it, and also this book right here, which is The Order of the Death's Head, the story of the SS. Both books talk about the expeditions, looking for those things. I think what's really interesting is the British angle to this. The British, especially in the early 20th century, had a significant, British Israelite, which we would now call the ZION-IST thing, element. And they, for instance, when they went into these places, they absolutely dominated. And they invaded Egypt. And I've mentioned this before, how they invaded Egypt and they went to the Sphinx and they said, lovely place to have a party. Do you play golf? And they literally had tea parties on top of the Sphinx's head and played and just, like, drove golf balls off the top into the dunes. It was just, and Kitchener went into Khartoum and took that, and that's interesting because Khartoum is in the news again. But they would go into these places and just just take the stuff. So that there's an element of that in this. So.
Wow, that's a great point. I did not know about that. That's interesting. Playing a little golf off the top of the Sphinx.
There are photos of it. There are photos of it from right before World War I. So that's in the book, The Decline and Fall of the British Empire. It's a great book. These are also two great books. I mean, understanding this, if you're interested in understanding this sort of material, some of the expeditions and the occult elements, especially of the SS, because the SS saw themselves as sort of neo Templar knights, right. An order of knights, black knights. You got the Wavelsburg Castle and Himmler and stuff. And there's a Himmler character in this. He's supposed to look like Himmler. That's Todd, the doctor. Todd is the German word for death, like the Totenkopf, right? Which the SS. I didn't know that. Yeah, it's
some German.
I can understand some of it and read it because English is Germanic.
Right.
So, but I can't speak German except for Sigge Heinstein's cleans the Ausfahrt. Right. That doesn't mean anything. Those are just German. It's just German gibberish. I know Ausfahrt means exit. Gestaatspolizei. But yeah, this is a really good book. And also, what was I saying about the SS wore, on their cap, they've got a little skull and bones on the top. Yeah. That's called it's called a Totenkopf, which is the order of the Death's Head, which is the thing that's sacred to the SS. And there was a Totenkopf division of the SS that was part of guarding. That was part of I think that one was part of Hitler's personal guard. But yeah, there's obviously that plays into the symbolism within the movie. So
yeah, I was thinking about doing maybe a members video of going through this book and doing an overview on it, because I'll read what I read to you on the back. Here's some of the notes that were left in it from Hitler going through this book. What we call our soul is the sum of all world energies. Another one, through our bodies floods the energies of the universe. Service makes great, but dominance makes greater. All fight for power is therefore a fight of hostile structures. Quote, our demon is struggling, and he is struggling in pain and hardship. We must suffer with him to share victory with him. Quote, false images are necessary for the recognition of truth. Quote, empiricism fulfills the laws of probability, but imagination makes the impossible happen. Quote, but this is magic. And on this basis, we are able to create reality where no reality is. Quote, he who does not have the demonic seed within himself will never give birth to a magical world. Quote, every dwindling end has always been followed by a vigorous new beginning. ... Satan is the beginning. So interesting stuff. At least that's what this book says. So I'm no expert. I'm just reading what this book tells me, but interesting stuff that certainly fit with a sort of thelemic Crowleyan understanding of magic.
Yes, don't take that book as your light reading material when you fly on your trip to Germany.
No, I'm not taking this to Germany. Hell no, I won't be able to get back in. No, nothing that's gonna have anything on Moscow related to the Third Reich.
Yeah, in 3 months. Where's DPH? He's on an extended vacation to
No
Baden. We haven't seen him in
yeah. All right, well, let's start getting into and start moving through the movie. I guess to just provide a quick full overview of the plot, we could just say this and then we'll start moving through the actual movie. Let me read this real quick. We typically do this real quick before we go through each scene. So it's in 1936, American archaeologist Indiana Jones recovers a gold idol from a booby-trapped Peruvian temple, which we're getting ready to see here. It's really a great opening scene. It's so action-packed to start a movie.
Yeah, it's the best.
So the rival archaeologist Rene Belloc corners him and steals the idol. Jones escapes in a waiting seaplane. After returning to the United States, Jones is briefed by 2 Army intelligence agents that the Nazi German forces are excavating at Tanis, Egypt. And one of their telegrams mentions Jones' former mentor, Abner Ravenwood. Jones deduces that the Nazis are seeking the Ark of the Covenant, which Adolf Hitler believes will make their army invincible. The agents recruit Jones to recover the Ark first. At a bar in Nepal, Jones reunites with Ravenwood's daughter, Marion, whom Jones once had an illicit relationship, and learns that Ravenwood is dead. The bar is set ablaze after a scuffle with Gestapo agent Arnold Todt, who arrives to take a medallion from Marion. Todt attempts to recover the medallion from the flames, but only burns its image into his hand. Jones and Marion take the medallion and escape. And then we move to Cairo. Traveling to Cairo, the pair meet Jones's friend Salah. Salah reveals Belloc is assisting the Nazis, who have fashioned an incomplete replica medallion from the burns on Todt's hand. Nazi soldiers and mercenaries attack Jones, and Marion is seemingly killed, leaving Jones despondent. And a mom deciphers the medallion for Jones, revealing that one side bears a warning against disturbing the Ark, and the other bears the correct measurements of the Staff of Ra, an item used to locate the Ark. Jones and Salah realize that the Nazis are actually digging in the wrong location, infiltrate the Nazi dig site, and use the medallion and correctly sized Staff of Ra to locate the Well of Souls, the Ark's resting place. They recover the Ark, a golden, intricately decorated chest, but Belloc and the Nazis discover them and seize it. Jones and Marion, whom Belloc has held captive, are sealed inside the well, but the pair escape, and Jones captures a truck carrying the Ark. Alongside Marion, Jones arranges to transport the Ark to London aboard a tramp steamer. A German U-boat intercepts the steamer and seizes the Ark and Marion. Jones covertly boards the U-boat. The vessel travels to an island in the Aegean Sea where Belloc intends to test the power of the Ark before presenting it to Hitler. On the island, Jones ambushes the Nazi group and threatens to destroy the Ark, but surrenders after Belloc deduces that Jones would never destroy something so historically significant, also surmising that Jones wants to know if the Ark's power is real. The Nazis restrain Jones and Marion at the testing site as Belloc ceremonially opens the ark but finds only sand inside. At Jones' instruction, he and Marion close their eyes to avoid looking at the opened ark as it releases spirits, flames, and bolts of energy that kill Belloc, Tot, and the assembled Nazis before sealing itself shut. Jones and Marion open their eyes to find the area cleared of bodies and their bindings removed. Back at Washington, D.C., the United States government rewards Jones for securing the ark. Despite Jones' insistence, the agents state only that the ark has been moved to an undisclosed location for top men to study. Turns out it's a large warehouse. The ark is crated up and stored among countless other crates. And that's the end of the movie.
Yeah, we put top men on it. Which men? Top men. Okay. Untersee Putin. That's the U-boat. Yeah. Yeah, and it is awesome how at the end of the movie the angel of death, appears to these guys. And there's something to be said for I just realized that I guess she's called Marion because maybe they didn't intend this, but it's almost like she's Maid Marian. Right. And he's he's supposed to be kind of a Robin Hood character because he's going to take the gold from the bad guys and put it in a museum for the common people. Right.
Oh,
so maybe there's something to be said.
Well,
for
and
that.
Marion isn't too far from Mary too, which obviously going to have a large cultural import.
Right. Or Mary Magdalene, because she says that she says at one point she worked in the bar, but she wasn't the bartender. So,
that's a good point too.
Yeah. So she's been made to be a Tibetan bar hoe. Yeah.
Anyway,
that's a terrible thing to be, right?
Yeah. Ladies, don't make that your life goal.
Right.
Aim higher. So it opens up. We see Jones and some people traveling through a thick Amazonian rainforest. We see some of the here we go. We can see some of the outlines of what appears to be, what is that? Mayan, Peruvian? Is that Aztec? You can't tell. It looks like
it's supposed to be Peru. It's supposed to be Peru.
Right, it's supposed to be Peruvian.
Yeah,
all their culture kind of looks, again, whether it be Mayan or Aztec.
Right, and this was filmed in Hawaii.
It was.
Okay. Yeah, which is where George Lucas and Spielberg came up with the idea for the movie. They were like sitting on the beach, making a sand castle is the story. Because I know that Lucas, like when his movies premiere, like I think Empire Strikes Back had premiered, or maybe it was Star Wars, maybe it was in the late 70s, in 77. And so when the movie premieres, he leaves and goes to Hawaii, to his place in Hawaii, to escape the media thing. And he was sitting there building a sandcastle, and Spielberg saying, you know what would be a great idea for a movie, right? And so the sandcastle and the sand, you see the sand in the arc, right at the end. The whole movie has kind of a grainy, I mean, they filmed it in Tunisia. Tunisia is also where they filmed was it, I guess it was Star Wars. They filmed it in Tunisia. And even before that pops up in the movie, one thing they do that's cool in this is we see the old 30s Paramount logo, which was the Gulf and Western Company at the time. And then that sort of transitions into a mountain that they find. And that's like the Magic Mountain, right? So there's a Wagnerian element to this. And then we see Alfred Molina. You guys know Alfred Molina. This is his first film role. Alfred Molina is like a great character actor. He plays the guy in Boogie Nights, who is like, has the fire, he's there. They go to the house, and Todd and Mark Wahlberg's there. What are we doing here? What are we doing at this house? And Alfred Molina's guy is like throwing the fireworks on the ground. He plays the dude in the Spider-Man movie. Anyway, it's his first movie. Oh, and we see kind of scenes like this, by the way, with these idols. This also reappears in the next Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom, but they're in India.
I thought it was interesting is Tom Selleck was initially supposed to play the original Indiana Jones. Which again, Indiana Jones having some shorts. I think that would have been a big hit,
They did ask him. I mean, it's not just movie lore. They did want him to be in this movie because but Lucas did not want Harrison Ford to be in the movie because he'd already been in the Star Wars movies, and he didn't want to be like Scorsese's Robert De Niro. He wanted a different guy for it, and so they asked Tom Selleck, but he was already contracted to do Magnum PI.
Magnum PI.
Yeah, and
which
also
I love watching those old Magnum PIs.
Like, honestly, it would have been a different movie, but like not a bad movie because Tom Selleck is cool.
I think Tom Selleck was cool,
but he's also like way too tall for this. He's like he did, the scale would have in film. The reason why you see a lot of short film actors like Tom Coombe is because it's a practical reason, because you have to have everybody sort of a basic height because they have to fit in frame. So otherwise, when you have like a tall actor, all the other actors, or if you have an actress, they have to stand on a platform so that they're all the same height and fit in the frame. So that's why they have a lot of shorter people in this. And then we get this great image of Indiana Jones right here, and there's a great dramatic reveal, and this is a kind of a close-up sort of semi-profile of him. One thing that's interesting about Indiana Jones that doesn't make sense is the stylistic costume choices, because why is the dude wearing a leather jacket, right, and a Savile Row fedora like in the sweaty jungle rainforest?
Yeah, where it's absolutely so hot.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
So it opens up here. He's clearly traveling with these guys. They get to this waterway, which again, I just stopped it at. This gentleman right here pulls out a gun to shoot Indiana Jones. And this is where we get sort of revealed Indiana Jones and his famous whip. He pulls it out and just whips the gun right out of his hand, smacks his hand, and the guy kind of runs away back into the rainforest, and the other guy's kind of stunned, who continues on with him. He will end up trying to betray him after they get the golden head. But now to open up, again, not knowing, you kind of say, okay, they're on some type of adventure here, going through the Amazon. Eventually they find this cave opening, again, sort of a man-made doorway, if you will. You can kind of see the rock structure, and they're entering in there. And this is, again, this is just the opening scenes of the movie here. And so he's telling the guy he needs the map. I think he pulls the map out and a torch to start moving through. Yeah, but you're right. He's got a long sleeve shirt on, pants on, a leather jacket, and a hat on, and probably the most hot, muggy, humid place you could be in.
Right. But it's cool. It's iconic.
It definitely is iconic. And then he has the leather whip. The leather whip's super iconic.
Yeah, and the bull whip is made with kangaroo leather. It's like and listen, here's my advice. I never give advice. Here's my advice, though, to the people who like go like spurg out over movie props and like they want to buy, if only I could have the bullwhip from Indiana Jones, the whip sold like for, $500,000 or whatever to a private collector.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, but like don't buy the bullwhip because there are 9 bullwhips in the movie. Like it's not the only one. Like, so, and they're just anybody who's ever been on a movie set or like acted in anything, this just the costume department. Who cares? And everything's reused. But I understand the thing. I know that the rest of his get up here is in the Smithsonian, which is kind of appropriate because that's pretty much what he works about it.
The scenario that you're talking about with Lucas in Hawaii, that he was trying to get away from the premiere of which I had never referred to or read, but he referred to Star Wars as his space opera, that he wanted to make a space opera. And so
is that me?
Are you still there?
Hello? Now I'm here. Sorry. Yeah, I think I cut out. I didn't know if it was you or me, but there's a big storm outside. So again, if I cut
it's raining here too. It's raining here too. But yeah, you freaked me out. I didn't know if it was me or you because I started getting a spinning wheel of death.
Dang, that's a big storm all the way from over
so
there.
I think we're still live here. I think everybody can still hear us.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Hamptown says you're back. Okay.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Something happened, but
yeah.
Anyways, what I was trying to say is reading about it. Lucas originally had another director that was going to do it, and it was called like The Adventures of Indiana Smith. Spielberg hated Indiana Smith because it reminded him of a previous movie that was, what was it, Nevada Smith with who starred in that? The guy that starred in Bullet.
Steve McQueen. Yes.
Steve McQueen was Nevada Smith.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh, it's too much like that. So they changed it to Indiana Jones for something a little bit different. Indiana comes from, I guess that was the name of Lucas's dog. So
yes, and they mentioned that in Last Crusade, right? Indiana, you're named after the dog, right? And that's what Jonathan Rhys-Davies says, who plays Sala. And we want to hear something really cool for the Star Wars, for the Ewoks out there. Lucas's dog is the inspiration for both Star Wars and Indiana Jones, because apparently one day his wife was pulling out of that. She was in the car. She was pulling out of the house and she was driving, but the dog was in shotgun and was sitting there and he looked at him and he said, like, you're the pilot and the dog is the co-pilot, right? So you're Han Solo and the dog is Chewbacca. And then the dog was named Indiana. So then that's the name that he gets. And another thing is that what we were talking about Bond and Indiana Jones earlier, and Toledo brought this up in the chat, our homegirl Toledo, that who plays Indiana Jones's dad is Bond. It's Sean Connery, right? Henry Jones Sr. So it's sort of a tie-in with both of those. So.
Wow. So yeah. So go ahead.
One more thing is that this movie also, the way that the movie looks is very similar to, there's a Charlton Heston movie. I can't remember. It's like something about the Incas, Adventure in the Incas. I don't remember what it is, but Charlton Heston wears the same exact getup as this. And he's looking for gold, like ink and gold. And a lot of the plot is very similar to this. So, and I think that just shows, people are like, oh, they ripped it off. Well, I think that, the great art, people just steal the great art. And, they don't, I think that the mediocre art is borrowed. And this is just like they were like, okay, we got Charlton Heston here and he looks like this. Let's just take the entire thing and put it in this movie, because then it becomes kind of an homage anyway. So.
Right. Yeah, we had a super chat. Willie Jenkins threw in $5 says yogurt for Otis Wong. I'm not sure what that reference is. I thought maybe
I don't either. I know.
Anyways, Willie Jenkins, thanks for the $5, brother. And again, we have t-shirts at the website. I know you always ask for t-shirts. Go to davidpatrickharry.com, click on store. We got tons of t-shirts and stuff over there for you. God bless you, Willie Jenkins. Hope you and the family are well. Frankie D, our beloved Frankie D, throws in $4.99, says, wait, Indiana Jones wasn't played by Liam Neeson? Mind blown. Harrison Ford was great in Qui-Gon though.
It's Qui-Gon. No, that's Liam. That's Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson plays Qui-Gon in What the Phantom Menace is your super chat mean? No, he's in the super chat. Yeah, he was in Phantom Menace, and he was not in Battlestar Galactica. And also
I loved him in Battlestar. Maybe he's just trolling. Maybe he's just trying to make a joke.
Yeah, we do a little trolling. It's called we do a little trolling. And earlier somebody said that Harrison Ford got his start in the Rockford Files. Actually, Harrison Ford got his start as a roadie for the Doors. Did you know that?
No.
He was Harrison Ford was a carpenter. And which is interesting because there is a weird niche in Hollywood where people Jeremy Renner is the best example of that now, who's makes houses and whatever and cars and not cars, houses and like RVs or whatever all around Hollywood for like famous clients. He has like some business with his brother, but Harrison Ford did that. And he was, then that's how he got his role in American Graffiti, the first George Lucas movie, but he was a roadie for the Doors. I mean, he knew Jim Morrison.
Wow.
I think he's a year older than Jim Morrison. Yeah.
Interesting. Frankie D threw in another $4.99, said, wasn't Sean Connery in The Dark Knight Rises? Yeah, he's definitely trolling. Or was that Christopher Nolan, the actor who played Count Dooku?
No, that's Christopher Lee.
Magneto and X-Men.
Yes, that's Christopher Lee.
Frankie D. Okay, so moving through here, this is the opening scene. Okay, so we're going into the cave. We kind of have this idea. This must be Indiana Jones. Dark, spooky place, cobwebs everywhere, and we see. Oh, this was interesting. The scene with all the spiders.
Yes.
Right here.
Yeah.
When I was reading about it, this was a real stunt. So I guess Spielberg had Harrison do as many of the real stunts as they could. These were all real spiders. However, they said when they put all of them on there, they used male spiders because they're less aggressive. And so because of that, they didn't move, and on camera it looked fake. So they had to put like aggressive female spiders on the actors so that the rest of the male spiders would move a little bit.
Yeah, and this was the first thing Alfred Molina ever filmed on film. So you know that when he got to the set, Lucas was like, "All right, you're new to the set. So here's what we're gonna do. You can either be an Ewok, or we're gonna put spiders on you. Okay, this is what you have to do to be in the film." And he was like, "All right, I'll take it."
Yeah. So, and apparently the run from the large ball, which we're getting ready to see once he grabs the head here, that was, I mean, not real in the sense that he was really running from his life, but it was a real 300-pound ball that he had. I guess Harrison Ford did it 8 different times from different camera angles to get it, just so that they could catch his face, because that was what Spielberg wanted. Is they didn't want a stuntman because they wanted to catch his face while he was doing it.
Right. Yeah, that's what they mean when they say that, you know, the actor does all his own stunts. It's like not true. The actor rarely does their own stunts because of insurance.
What about Jackie Chan, bro?
Yeah, well, Jackie Chan was a stuntman. So Jackie Chan choreographs all of his fights and his stunts. So, and that's his vehicle. Like his movies are just stunts. So that's the vehicle for him. But other actors, the insurance is too much. Now the times when there are exceptions to that are basically like my favorite is in Point Break when Bodhi, you know, said rock and roll, you know, and falls out of the plane and is skydiving. So Swayze really did that because they had to have his face falling from the airplane. So that was the only time. All the other stunts are done like on a soundstage. So Harrison Ford, I know that Harrison Ford got his leg run over by the plane. And it didn't break his leg because the heat of the Tunisian desert like melted the rubber tires, so they were soft when it ran over his leg. But that's the exact reason why the stunt crew, right, and the Teamsters who run the stunt crew, right, they're like, we're not gonna have this actor doing this. He's going to get his leg run over by a plane. We need to have a real guy who can take his leg getting run over by a plane. But unless they have his face, and the ball is fiberglass. So the big ball that chases him down the pathway there.
Yeah, it's fiberglass. And what you don't see is that I guess it's built into the wall. So there's rods that they could stop the ball moving at any time through the wall there.
Right. And you may think for continuity, like, why like as a plot hole, you'd be like, why does he run? Because there's clearly space where he could get behind the ball. But that's because the ball is going to block the exit to the tunnel and he'd be trapped in the tunnel. So yeah, that's why he has to run. Right.
We got a super chat war going on here that I'm quite happy about. Is Billy Jenkins threw in $5, said, I will super chat more than Frankie D for a t-shirt. I will hold you to that. Frankie D responds with another $4.99, says, always love when you have base lid on here. I just wanted to have some fun. God bless you guys. He was just a little new boot goofing is what he's doing. A little new boot goofing. Shout out to Frankie D. And then, of course, Willie Jenkins responds by Frankie D sucks for another $5. So it is neck and neck with Frankie D and Willie Jenkins right now. I wish you guys the best on your rival on who's going to donate more. So God bless you guys. Anyway, so we're moving in through here. Indiana Jones has made it clear that this is all booby trap. They're maneuvering. There is the golden head.
Yes,
golden head.
Yes, there's Pachamama. Right? So
that is indeed Pachamama.
That's Pachamama. So Belloc takes it, and then eventually it makes its way to Pope Francis. And then from there, eventually it makes its way to the bottom of the Tiber. Because they're at least at that, the Romans we're like, look, we can't. We're, you know, a lot of this could go, but this is too much. We can't be worshiping Indiana Jones Pachamama. So,
yeah. So he sees it. They got to step gingerly. There's booby trapped. The famous scene where he, let's see, where's the bag of sand? Oh, there he goes. Switches the bag of sand, gives that happy old grin. He's got Pachamama. But
I just realized. So he does a switcheroo and he changes the gold or the pagan idol for the sand. And at the end, they get a switcheroo pulled on them because they take the gold lid of the ark off and there's sand in it.
Right.
So I guess it's sort of neatly.
That's a great connection. No doubt that was intentional. So he grabs Pachamama. It's booby trapped. They're now on the run here from all the booby trapped weaponry that's trying to kill them. Eventually they get to here. Gosh, it's so hard to stop this. This guy's telling him to throw over the golden head. Throw over the golden head. And Indiana Jones is like, well, throw me the whip. He needs the whip to transgress over this over the
abyss.
The abyss, yeah, thank you. And so he throws him the golden head, and then he throws the whip on the ground, leaving Indiana Jones to die. So he betrays him. Indiana Jones does all the hard work, then he betrays him. And there he is, leaving right there. Indiana Jones shook to the core, decides to just jump across it and hangs on to a root. And here we go. So he eventually finds him. He's stabbed by some spikes, and now he's got a huge ball rolling down on top of him, as you were talking about. This was the fiberglass 300-pound ball that they created. That, again, now that you know, when I read, there's like pipes in the side of that ball, so where it's rolling down, they actually could stop it at any point. It's not actually just free rolling. And he's running from his life, and there is Belloc. So he dives out of the cave there with the golden head, and you have all these natives around him. The guy that was originally going to shoot him, that portrayed him, again, right at the opening scene, he's killed by the natives. And Belloc right there, Rene Belloc, is there to take the golden head, which he always does. He always steals the rewards that Jones finds.
Toledo says something about thank goodness Kubrick never directed Raiders of the Lost Ark. Nobody would be safe. Yeah, there is actually a Kubrick connection to Indiana Jones. Vivian Kubrick, Kubrick's daughter, visited the set, and they were filming the scene with the snakes like in the floor of the tomb, and she complained that they were mistreating the snakes, and then the studio shut down the filming of the movie so that the royal the SPCA, the royal RSPCA could investigate. So there is a Kubrick connection. Oh, by the way, this scene is funny because we have all of this period material, and then we get to this guy, and he's wearing like clearly what looks like 70s or 80s garb, like with a Yankees hat. Now, I suppose that could be in the 30s, you know, and he's a pilot, but it is interesting that like this dude, his name's Jock in the movie, doesn't really fit. And you notice, by the way, that the tag, look at the tag on the plane. See what it says? So it's OB for Obi-Wan Kenobi, and then CPO for 3CPO, because it's a George Lucas movie.
3CPO, I don't get it.
Yeah, C3PO is he's R2D2's sidekick.
I've never watched the original Star Wars. So
yes, and then OB is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and in the second one, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, the cafe that they're in Shanghai is called Cafe Obi-Wan. So there are a bunch of little Star Wars, what do they call them now? There's Star Wars Easter eggs all throughout this film. If you can catch them, then you can get your Jabba the Hutt Funko Pop. One more thing is C3PO and R2D2 are actually in this movie, because when they find the actual Ark and there's the Egyptian engravings on the wall, C3PO and R2D2 are in the film. They're part of the hieroglyphics on the wall. See, this is why you have me here. This is what I'm here for.
Exactly. I would not know any of that stuff
Right.
at all. So thank God you are here. So anyways, Indiana Jones now is running for his life. And this is a great scene. See if I can just get a snippet. Okay. That's all you get. That's all you get before they take it down. But you can see the whole tribe's running after him. He's yelling at him to get the engine running. Now, this is really interesting. This stunt right here was not not Harrison Ford, where he's hanging on to the plane here.
Yeah.
Again, what I was reading is that this stunt actually they failed the first time, and so the stunt man, when he was climbing onto the airplane to film this, his foot like covered one of the flaps, and the plane actually crashed. So it only got like 20 feet off the ground, and the plane crashed. Nobody was killed or injured, but that did happen. So I guess this is one of the mishaps that they had. Anyways, Jones climbs onto the plane and he successfully gets away. Of course, only with his life. He doesn't have the golden head. Here he is back at university teaching. Look at all the young women just, oh, Dr. Jones.
And he's teaching.
There's, you see her eyes, it says love you.
Yeah.
Again, her eyes, I love you. Get it?
He's teaching about tombs and the barrows in, I don't know, maybe they're Mesopotamian. I thought maybe they'd be Nordic, but they're Mesopotamian barrow tombs. This also occurs again in The Last Crusade when he's teaching, because he says there are certain things about archaeology you need to learn, like basic rules. And the number one rule is X never, ever marks the spot. And then, of course, later he's in the library, and then he finds the tomb to the where the Crusaders' graves are, where he gets the rubbing for where to find the Grail. And X, the number X, marks the spot because it's the Roman numeral 10. Also, in that scene in the airplane, there's a snake in the bottom of the plane. And I love how the pilot goes like, he's like, "There's a snake in here," and he's like, "Oh, that's just my pet python, Bert."
Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah. Oh man.
That snake actually bit one of the I think the assistant director, and wouldn't let go. So the way they got the snake to let go of his hand was, he said, grab the bullwhip and whip the back of the snake. So it whipped the snake's tail, and then the snake let go. Wow. But that's no big deal for a stuntman, I guess.
Wow. So we see again Indiana Jones as professor teaching about like the Neolithic period. I think what he's talking about, things that they found. He comes in, he starts telling him about Belloc was there. You know, he took the golden head. So clearly you see this guy works with Indiana Jones in regards to gathering some of these archaeological finds, and tells him basically what happened, summarizes, and he says, well, you know, we got two Army intel officers here, two people with the Army basically want to talk to you. He comes out here to talk with them. They're quite aware of Indiana Jones and his capabilities and interest, and tell him this is where they break down that the Nazis are after something. They break down that his old professor, Dr. Ravenwood, has gone missing. They believe that they captured him to help them find the Ark of the Covenant. And that's basically kind of concludes this section through here with the movie. So now you see the whole premise. Now in Indiana Jones, quite worried, but right after this, you see celebrating because his friend here comes to the house. Let me get there. Here we go. Now they're at the house, and he's telling him that they're going to pay for everything. All excited. They got drinks, toasting each other, because this is the ultimate goal. Ultimate goal of archaeology is to find the Ark of the Covenant. This is why Indiana Jones got into archaeology. But again, he makes the point. His friend says, Indiana, I think you should maybe be leery of this. Something, bad may happen. And he said, oh, I don't believe in all that magical stuff. These objects don't have magic. It'll be great for the museum. So you're kind of brought into privy that Indiana Jones is gathering these items to put them into some type of museum that they have.
This is he has like the coolest library of all time. That room is so cool. I wish I had an office library like that, like early 20th century, low ceilings, nice fireplace. He's got like a Picasso or something above the fireplace. Of course, he's got the masks on the wall. You should never go in anybody's house with masks on the wall because it's like, oh, this person has DID, but he's an archaeologist, so it's all right. It's also unkempt, so that is his personality. He's slightly unkempt. He's kind of a rake, but he has his own sort of system of organization. And is this in the scene where Marcus Brody comes back to visit him later, I think. But there's something interesting about that scene because he goes home here, but then later when Denholm Elliott goes to visit him, it's weird that it's in the middle of the day and he's wearing like a smoking jacket robe. And I think the reason for that, I think the reason for that is that we would assume the only reason he's wearing a robe in the middle of the day is because there's another guest there, right, at the house that we don't see in the scene.
I took it it's nighttime. Here's a window.
Well, this is at night, but he's not in the robe here. It's when when Brody comes back to visit him, and it's the daytime, and he says, "We got approved. We're going to send you." So it's right.
Look, right here.
But it's at night, but it doesn't look like it's late night. I mean, does he go home and put this robe on right when he gets there?
I don't know.
I think what they did here was they're tying it into the last scene, right, where he's got all of these fawning admirers. And I know at one point they were trying to make it so that Indiana Jones was kind of a James Bond playboy, but I would assume that maybe there's another guest in the house, like in the bedroom, that we don't see. So we already know that Indiana Jones creeps that way because of Marion later on. So I would assume the same thing here.
According to some public sources, Spielberg wanted Marion to be 11 years old when she had her fling with Indiana Jones. And reportedly, potentially, allegedly, George Lucas said, "Well, she better be older than that."
Right.
So I guess,
maybe Lucas at least was like, "Look, if you say that again, I'm going to get the key grip to sock you in the face." All right, we're not going that far. There's still going to be creeps here, but they're not going to be that far. All right. So I don't know. Who knows?
It's like 11 years old and her dad was okay with it. Oh, right.
And I hate it when people like make this argument like, no, they say, no, that was fine because it was the early 20th century. They had different values. It's like, no, they didn't. That was still weird.
Yeah.
Back then, that didn't fly. So.
No. Yeah. 11 years old. That's almost, that's right on the edge there of just post-pubescent, if not, that's reaching Muslim territory. Just put it that way.
Maybe that's why they filmed it in Tunisia. I don't know.
Exactly. Nailed it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So anyways, Indiana Jones is now with the aegis and the financial backing of the U.S. government. He is on his way on his journey. And so he leaves from San Francisco, flies over Hawaii, and lands where? Nepal. And so we get open that this woman here, who is Marion, is having a drinking contest where she is drinking this much larger man under the table. So this very delicate feminine woman apparently has a stomach of an old Russian warrior.
Right.
And this guy ended up passing out. So anyways, this is kind of the thing. So we see that this woman is very hardened is what it's displaying. Indiana Jones is here. He's talking about, again, he's got business, the medallion. She's aware where it is. She's telling him that her father is dead. And we were kind of then made privy that they had a romantic interest, a romantic relationship, and this has fallen apart. And she's very reluctant now to help him because of what had transpired previously.
Yeah. She says, I don't know. She says, well, you know what she says in the film about their relationship. Yeah.
So
And
he ends up leaving. There's the medallion. He gives her, I think he said what, $5,000 or something for it. I think it was like I believe it was like he was going to pay her $5,000 because she's not doing anything with it, and he has to have that medallion and put it on a staff at the right height to put it inside the temple for the sun to shine through it at a particular point, so that he can then see where the well of the souls is, the room that's going to house the Ark of the Covenant.
He paid her 5,000 Malbucks, which is like he paid her 50 cents. Right.
So she's basically made a decision. I guess I'm going to go with the money.
Right.
And all of a sudden, there's a knocking at the door. Who is it?
It's Heinrich Himmler.
It's Heinrich Himmler.
Yeah. And this guy, I mean, he really does. He's obviously supposed to. He's wearing the black, leather greatcoat of, I guess, an SD security, SS security guy. And he's got the Himmler glasses on. And this guy, he's kind of got my voice, right? and he and Belloc, are in league with each other. And Belloc said earlier in the film the thing about looks like you made the wrong friends again, which is a continuous theme in this, because to show Indiana Jones's innocence, for example, there's the one scene we're going to get to where the kids come in and rescue him when he's about to be mobbed when they're in Tunisia or in Egypt or wherever they are. But all of Belloc's associates are these hardcore Nazi guys.
Mm-hmm. And so he's threatening her because now, again, we see the race is on. The Nazis are aware that she has the medallion. Indiana Jones knows she has the medallion. They need the medallion to find the room that's the Well of Souls. And so he's asking for it. She refused 3 times, and now he's basically telling her that he's going to burn the crap out of her until she gives it to him. But of course, who's there? Indiana Jones with a pistol, and his pistol's taking on fully automatic rifles of
right.
The Nepali soldiers that are backing Tot, who's again kind of reminiscent of Heinrich Himmler. They basically can't hit the broadside of a barn, but luckily Indiana Jones, he has his pistol and he is an ace. He saves the day. He saves her, gets her out. He goes again. Here's Heinrich Himmler, goes to grab the medallion, and boy, was that a mistake. He burns his hand. He then has to flee. He runs and jumps in the snow to put his hand into the snow. And then Jones saves the day, rescues her, and they are now off with the medallion on the journey. And so they leave Nepal, where they go to Cairo. And here's a beautiful vista of Cairo on the rooftops.
Oh, I just realized that because I was thinking about what does it
Willie
mean?
Jackson said, shout out to BLA's vocal cords.
Hey, thank you very much, folks. Appreciate that. It's interesting because when I do this impression, it doesn't bother me at all. It's almost my regular voice. I think it's hard on the normal vocal cords, but not on mine. It makes no difference. I was thinking about what's the symbolism of why Todd gets burned on his palm, because there's something to be said about, because they're dealing with the Ark of the Covenant, and there's something, maybe it's a revelation, I think about in Revelation, right? With you get the mark. So what does it say that Christ has, he has King of Kings, Lord of Lords written on his palm and his thigh?
Who?
In Revelation. And then the mark of the beast, is that on your palm?
It will be either on, it says the hand or the head.
Right.
So maybe your forehead, or
maybe
your Neuralink.
Right. So it's kind of an inversion of that, because this guy is twisted and he picks up the headpiece for the staff of Ra, the sun god. So of course it burns his hand. So that's his, and later on he will show that as his entry, that gets him access into the room later on when we see that it's been burned into his palm. I guess that's what that means.
That's a great point. Another great connection. Yeah, that's really good. So here they are in Cairo with the medallion, and we now are brought, we meet Sela, his friend there in Egypt. and we see the monkey. It turns out this monkey isn't so nice. He's entertaining the kids, and then he kind of has a fond affection for Marion here, but he's actually working for one of the undercover Nazi sympathizers, I guess you'd say. They're in Cairo.
Yes, he's working for one of the local hitmen, who I guess is a contractor for them. He's a one eye, he's Illuminate confirmed guy with one eye.
Yep.
And also that he somebody said earlier, is this Wikipedia level? Well, here's your Wikipedia level analysis for me. That monkey is the guy who does the sounds from the monkey is the same guy who does the sounds of the monkey from Aladdin. So that's Abu. That's Abu the monkey.
Really?
Aladdin. Yeah, it's Aladdin's right hand man is Abu the monkey.
How did you find out this stuff, dude?
Man, I listen. I got a spur mind for movies. So the guy who was talking about the Wikipedia thing. Yeah, I'm not reading the Wikipedia. My brain is just the Wikipedia trivia of this stuff.
I was probably a shot at me because I use Wikipedia. It's just great little overviews. It's just trying to show people stuff real quick. It's not.
Yeah.
Again, the whole thing isn't based on Wikipedia. It's just using stuff to highlight things real quick.
Right. Who cares? We're talking about the movie. Yeah. Right. and also Abu the monkey is dressed exactly the same in the animated Aladdin as this monkey. So it's obviously
that's a great point too. Yeah. Dude, I did not even realize that. That's hilarious though.
Also, another thing about Saleh, the Jonathan Rhys Davies character, who's great. He's great in this. And there's kind of two reasons why he's great. Like when you kind of go into a deeper analysis of the movie, one is that he's really a Falstaff character. He's Falstaffian. And that would make Henry Jones the Henry or Hal or Prince Henry V, right? That was his that was his guy, was Falstaff. So it's kind of the same in this. He's a jolly, big, fat man, character. And also that Indiana Jones is kind of tall. He's kind of the tall and thin guy, where Jonathan Rhys Davies is kind of the fat guy. So it's like an Abbott and Costello. There's a juxtaposition in the way that they look. He's a perfect sidekick, right-hand man for this. So
great point. So here the monkey runs away from Marion, and she's kind of looking back. He tells her to move on. We see the monkey's kind of working, as you said, the Illuminate confirm guy with an eye patch. Here we have the Nazis dressed as, I guess, just tourists leading these the Mujahideen over here, whatever you call them. And they are getting ready to attack Indiana Jones. They follow him down the alley here. He's fighting back. Again, they're terrible fighters. He's using his bullwhip. She's on the cart. The cart takes off. Basically they take her away. She hides in one of these baskets. The monkey kind of highlights where she's at. The Nazis then find her, carry her off. This is a classic scene where you see this guy again. I don't want to play it because it would get the stream taken down immediately, but see the guy's throwing the sword around. He's doing all these fancy maneuvers, and then Indiana Jones just pulls out a gun and shoots him.
Yes, great. This scene alone is really the reason why this film is so great. I mean, this is like, if you had to highlight one scene, it would be this one, because what they do is they subvert audience expectations of what is normally going to happen in the scene. We've seen him using the bullwhip throughout to get out of these situations, and in this one, he does away with that and he just shoots the guy, and that's great. And yeah, I mean, the story is that he had something about he had dysentery. I think the whole crew was poisoned, just by drinking the water during this, except for Spielberg, who flew in his own caviar and his SpaghettiOs. But the rest of everybody was sick during the scene. I think in one scene, actually, Jonathan Rhys Davies actually soils himself like on camera.
What?
Because he had cholera while he was filming the scene. I mean, apparently it was like torturous, but unlike most movies where they are, plagued by problems on the set and they take too long to do it, they filmed it in a shorter amount of time so they could get out of Tunisia. But this is a great scene. I mean, even the perspective here is great because it's like he's the hero, but he's sort of off center. And then we got the man in black who's about to attack him with a scimitar. And I'm not sure about this, but I think that the guy who plays the guy in black right there might be the same guy who plays the big brawny Nazi guy at the end of the movie that gets killed by the airplane, by the propeller, the guy with the mustache. That guy's in like a bunch of scenes in this movie. He's the big bald guy. So I think it's the same guy right there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so Indiana Jones pulls the gun out, shoots him. Again, definitely playing off the color scheme because everything the Nazis do is red and black in the movie. So that
Good
makes
point.
a lot of
Good
sense.
point. Yeah, good point.
So now he's on the chase trying to find Marion, who he's running through these halls, and then he comes to this market. Everybody's got these baskets, and he believes she's put on this truck, which then right here falls over and just apparently just explodes.
Right.
There's no reason why the truck actually explodes. It just kind of tips over slightly and boom, just full combustion. And so Marion, he believed, was on this truck, which turns out she was not. But this is certainly Indiana falls into a sort of melancholy state here, drinking with a boo. And this is when some gentlemen come up to him and try to the Nazis try to offer him a deal. He's brought to Belloc here, and he's basically made aware what Belloc's doing. You think, geez, maybe this monkey's not with Illuminate Confirm. Maybe he's on Indiana Jones's side here. Turns out no. Anyways, all these guys are willing to kill Indiana Jones, but right at the last second, Sella and all the kids come and rescue him. I'll try to get to that if I can stop it. So they're having their combo, and then they're going to kill Indiana Jones. He's like, let's just make there it is. All the kids come and put their hands so that the gentlemen aren't going to kill him with all their guns because, of course, all the children.
Right.
Anything you want to say specifically about this scene?
Just that Belloc, he's going to be what does that say on the background? Marhala. I thought maybe that would be another reference. But Belloc, is the bad guy because he's bellicose, because he's bellum, he's war, or belladonna. Later he puts on the OTO costume, so he knows his I don't know, but also that I love the costumes in this are great. Like you have the old dudes sitting around like with fezzes on, and then he's got his nice linen suit, and yeah, I guess that's about. I mean, it shows that that Indiana Jones is on the side of I know what I was going to say. It shows that he's like, we're talking Lucas and sort of dialectics and the dark side and the light side, right? And he is dressed in this light color, and he gets the children to help him, so he's like on the light. He's like in the light side. But in that speech, that was the part of the film where Belloc does this speech that I'd never noticed before, where he talks about how their religion is archaeology, and they're not interested in any of the basically they're trying to say the mumbo jumbo of the things that they find. And he says that if he was to take this watch and bury it in the sand, then, in 1,000 years, it would be a relic, right? Because it's archaeology. Well, then he compares that to what happens to the Ark of the Covenant. Right. So the guy is obviously evil, right? He's saying, I mean, he on the one hand, he doesn't believe in what he's going after. But on the other hand, he's equating it to garbage. But he still believes in it and harnessing the power of the occult, but only for the sake of the will.
Right, because that's what I was going to say. He does the ritual at the end using the Hebrew words of power and all this different stuff to sort of I don't know what he was expecting, activate the Ark of the Covenant, if you will. So yeah, he talks about, and I think there's another joke at one point that they'll leave him in the desert. Maybe Indiana Jones will be a relic or or something that could be an archaeological object that could be found in the future. So it's like you see this empiricism, this materialism, this interpretation, both from Indiana Jones, also from Belloc. So they don't believe in the objects that they're pursuing. That's sort of made explicit from the get-go. Though, as it goes on, of course, Indiana Jones is eventually going to believe in it. But Belloc, dude's dressed up like an Egyptian pharaoh speaking Hebrew words of power. It's like, bro, I think you kind of believe in it towards the end of the movie.
Yeah. And then Belloc says he wants the ark so that he can talk to God. He says that, even though he had just said, he basically, he's got this atheistic worldview, but then he says that he wants to use it for power so he can talk to God. But then Indiana Jones says, like, let's talk to him right now. So he's willing to die. And then I guess, bless the little children. They come in, and they rescue him. So he's, that's why we see him as the good guy. And then the poor monkey,
right?
The thing with the monkey happens.
And so this is interesting. We see him looking through clearly an Islamic sort of window way.
Right. Yeah. Even though it kind of looks like it almost, when you see that scene, it almost looks like he's at confession.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It's hard to. Yep. Yeah, it's hard to see what's going on. Apparently, it's just you assume it's a back door or a front door. It's a door of some sort that has some type of window. It's not a window pane, but I don't know what you call it. Some type of opening. I don't know. So he's looking through it. He goes away. So does the little boy who's working for Sella. And the one-eyed Illuminate confirm guy that has the monkey goes in there and poisons the dates, which again will kill his own monkey here in a second. So here's the little boy, comes back, gets the dates, goes to serve them, and then the movie's constantly playing with you. And every time he's getting ready to take, it's almost comical, right? That he's getting ready to take a bite, something happens, and then right at the end, there, Sella stops it. He throws it up in the air to catch it in his mouth. And Sella grabs it because he says, "Look, the monkey." And so here's the imam, and that this imam, almost wizard-looking individual, so maybe a Sufi, somebody more mystically oriented, is looking and reading the back of the medallion, and this is where he tells him, warning, about opening the Ark of the Covenant, but then on the other side, it also says basically how to create the Staff of Ra, so the correct height and everything to construct it.
That's kind of a cool framing right there in that scene, because the port, like, that looks like an eye, right? It's a portal to the night, and the telescope is looking out, and he's looking at he's got the medallion in the center, and that's going to be reversed later when he goes down into the tomb, because there's a portal that looks exactly like that in the window. And it's going to be reversed because the light will come in, and it'll be day versus night, which will then reflect on the crystal in the relic that he's holding in his hand right there. So that's I guess it's a kind of a foreshadowing.
Yep, great point. So we move forward here. Yeah, as Ryan Darrow says, bad dates. The monkey eats the dates, and he's killed from it. Sella catches. That's where the scene where he catches the date. Right there, they see the dead monkey. And so now we cut to Cairo, or Tanis, Egypt, if you will. And this is where Belloc and the Nazis are digging for the room of the Well of the Souls. And we see they got quite the militant operation going on here. So lots of Arab Muslim labor. And here we have Indiana Jones and Sella dressed as one of the Muslim laborers, and they find this passage to jump through, and they're going to drop a rope down so that he can go. And he's got his staff created. So right here is the staff. You see the staff leaning up against the wall. This has the correct head, as you're pointing out, for the Staff of Ra. They're at the right time. They're at the right location. He needs to just wait for the sun to hit at the appropriate time, so that then it can cast through that medallion and demonstrate where the room of the Well of the Souls are. Unfortunately,
he's also dressed like Lawrence. So they clearly
Lawrence of Arabia,
like Lawrence of Arabia. And I know that was one of the inspirations for the film, and that's why they, when they went back to Tunisia, they were like, look, if David Lean was 54 and he made Lawrence of Arabia in the desert, then we can do it here in 4 weeks. Like, we'll be fine. And he gets this miniature version of, I guess there was, this to me reminds me of like this is like the Napoleonic element of the movie because Napoleon invaded Egypt and took back the obelisks right back to France, and then Hitler, who loved Napoleon and saw himself as a sort of a neo-Napoleon invading, especially in Operation Barbarossa, sort of does the same thing. And so, and I think that the thing with the Nazis and the Muslims, like if you were just coming into this and you just saw this for the first time, you might be like, why is this a thing? Why did this is ridiculous? But the Nazis, part of the colonial wars was the German operation in Africa. They wanted to compete with the English, and then Bismarck, and then the Nazis financed the Grand Mufti. So they had, there were SS divisions that were Muslim divisions in Africa.
Right.
So it makes sense.
Yeah, the Nazis had quite an alliance with Turkey.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's where that's a whole nother rabbit hole you can get into, the alliances of the Third Reich.
Right.
So moving on here, we're in the right little chamber area. Again, this whole sort of modeled city is going to then demonstrate what is this, Heliopolis? I don't know what it's supposed to be. They're going to put this staff in the right place, and the sun's going to shine through. Here's the Nazi soldiers telling Sella, "Hey, what are you doing?" Forcing him to leave. So then Indiana Jones is reading some of the hieroglyphics, and this leads to, there we go. You just stay right there. The sun shines through the staff of Ra with, again, that special medallion. So they got it all situated, and here it shines through.
They graffitied the temple right there.
Right.
That's in German. It says, like,
I think it says like, tells them to leave. My girlfriend read it. She giggled and she was like, "Oh, I think what she told me said it basically says for people to like leave or something, like get away."
Right. Nichts nach frei, mein Herr. That's something. I don't know.
So, and there, boom, there it is. There it is. That is the Well of Souls. The light has demonstrated with the staff of Ra where to dig. And now he realizes that Belloc and his men are digging in the wrong location.
Picks up his cool notebook. I have a notebook exactly just like that.
So then he goes to get up out of the chamber, I guess, and Sella's not there, obviously, until he comes back with a Nazi flag. So he's got a bunch of sheets. So now they come back. They escape. They're walking around. Now he finds Marion, who isn't dead. So this is a surprise in the movie. I thought she died in that combustible vehicle that just turned over and just totally blew up in flames. Nope, she's alive. Belloc has her captured, basically to be his little sex slave. Indiana Jones goes to rescue her, but then realizes if he does, all hell's going to break loose. So to maintain order, he leaves her there against her will, so that he can maintain what he's doing. Now he's doing some little land surveying, trying to find the correct location that he just found in that chamber. And now he found it right there. That's where he needs to dig. And so that's
pretty cool. I mean, I got to say, like, the details are pretty cool. There are little details in this and the continuity and all that. But like when he went down into the well, he measured. Remember, he had like a tape measure, and he measured the distance between the staff and the beam so that it would be to scale. So then he goes up and he gets a George Washington surveying glass and then measures it. And like, that's like there are little things in this.
Yeah.
The little details that like really sell the movie.
Right. Yeah. That's what I love about it. And it really does take you on an adventure. One of the things I'll give this movie, it's constantly keeping you involved in it. So there's not, even though there's important dialogue, there's important places where you need to really pay attention. Also, for somebody who's maybe not interested in that type of stuff, there's always something going on. There's always something to watch. So this movie is quite riveting in the sense it's always drawing your attention into some type of action scene that's going to be following quickly afterwards.
It's visually appealing. I mean, look what's going on in the background. Like, there's so much going on. There's so many people in the background all doing stuff, right? And so that drives along the narrative, but also like the explosions are few and far between, and it's a blockbuster movie done right where we're not relying on the explosions to get us anywhere or like to appeal to us.
Yeah,
or
that's
entertain
the
us.
point. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, you're not dependent on the explosions; they're happening, but it's really keeping you involved in the storyline throughout the movie. Like
Yeah.
it really keeps you invested into it. Even nowadays, you know, maybe there's some of the stuff like because it is like very jovial and joking a lot.
Yeah.
So it's like a very serious scene, but then all of a sudden he'll have like a quip and a one-liner there that's like halfway facetious and joking. But at the same time, the storyline, it keeps you involved. It really keeps your attention in it.
Right.
Okay, moving through here. So there we go. I got to stop there. Here's Heinrich Himmler or Tot with the medallion burned into his hand.
This guy, like, you just know in the life of the movie, in the world of the movie, like this guy was born to be this guy, right? Like he existed before there were Nazis, and then when they came along, he was like, "This is my thing. Like I was born for this." And he went for his job interview, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you're our guy. Like you, everything about you." And the actor who plays this guy, this actor was an actor who gave up acting and became a talent agent. He was just an agent.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And Spielberg was like, "Look, I need somebody who looks like Himmler. You're our guy. Like, please be in this movie." And the guy was like, "Okay." I mean, look at this guy.
Yeah, he does. He does fit the role. That's for sure. Yeah, he definitely fits the role. So we see, okay, that's the last time we saw him was it burned into his hand. He jumps into the snow, puts his hand. Now we're brought back. Now we're seeing the repercussions of what was burned into his hand. So we see that he's also then trying to decipher the medallion based on what's burned into his hand there. They're looking. And so there it is. Indiana Jones has found the spot. He's got his shovel and he's got a handful of men that Sel is convinced. And he's really waiting on the sun to go down so that they can't be caught so that he can sneak into this chamber where the Ark of the Covenant is.
That's a cool shot. That's amazing. Look at that. That's cool. That's like they're on top of the mountain now that they showed at the beginning of the film.
Right.
I mean, it is an interpretation. And you've got the sky forming in the background, which is going to later appear at the end of the movie.
Well, it reminds you of
Moses.
Like Mount Sinai.
Right.
Because that's where, again, the 40 days, Mount Sinai, Moses gets the commandment to build the ark. And here they're getting ready to recover the ark. And it almost has a sort of Mount Sinai feel to it. Yeah. The storm clouds are brewing here. Again, now we see another reference to the storm clouds, which according to Old Testament scripture, what was it? I think it was, I forget which book that it was. I can pull it up real quick.
Is it Samuel?
Book of, I forget. One of them was talking about Temple of Solomon and the cloud. Oh, in Kings. No, Second Chronicles. I'm sorry. In Second Chronicles, it was talking about for the glory of the Lord had filled the house with, he kind of presented himself as a storm cloud. And so here we see another reference. So this is clearly a reference to the sort of Old Testament Yahweh figure related to the Ark of the Covenant. And they're getting ready to uncover it. Again, they finally get the doorway open there. They find the edge, dust off the edge, use their axes to crank open the top hatch. And there it is, looking down into and here's all the snakes, the famous snakes. Again, reading about this, Spielberg wanted more and more snakes. I guess they had like 500, 600 snakes, and he needed more snakes. So they it got up to like thousands.
They got lizard
snakes in here. Most of them were non-poisonous, but the cobras were. And so they had ambulance and medic people, according to what I read, on set, just in case anything were to happen. But when the scene where he falls down and the cobra's right there, I guess there's a plexiglass.
Yeah.
So the snake couldn't actually strike him, but they were face to face.
Yeah, well, and also the perspective. I mean, the snake could have been a far distance away.
It could have been, yeah.
And I think the cobras bit the pythons, and they died and killed them in that scene. And I know that they found, a lot of the film is filmed on sound stages at Eldridge Studios in London. And they looked for all the snakes that they could find in London. I mean, his hat is a Savile Row hat. From London. And what was that? What was the statue? Was it Anubis with an open mouth when he first opened?
It was sort of it was kind of a, let me see if I can go back.
But I don't know what it is, but Sully gets scared.
Yeah, Anubis is a...
Who's that?
It's hard to tell. It's almost like a dragon head. Anubis should be like a wolf, a dog-headed god. Maybe it is Anubis. I mean, Anubis is the god of the underworld in the sense that he's sort of a psychopomp. Maybe it is. There's 4 Anubises here. Could be. I also read that they ended up getting thousands of snakes, and that the female actor here that plays Marion was absolutely terrified of the snakes. That the scene where they were down in there, she was so scared she couldn't actually like scream. So she was too scared to actually scream. I guess Harrison Ford threw a dead snake on her foot. And that's part of how he elicited her reaction.
And Alfred Molina was like, "Look, you got to do this, man. They put tarantulas on me. These people are psycho."
Yeah, no. So anyway, so the next scene is that this is where Belloc, you see, he's trying to basically seduce Marion. He's giving her food for the first time. He's got this pretty white dress to put her in. She goes and changes clothes and comes back looking all pretty. She's got a knife, and then she starts doing the whole drinking under the table thing. Anyways, they start lowering Indy in here. Of course, he hates the snakes. I would hate snakes too, especially that many snakes. This is the famous scene. Again, what's interesting, I don't know how they did it, but apparently there's a plexiglass somewhere between this snake and Indiana Jones.
I think they got a rabbit, or they had like a fake rabbit that they held up, which made the snake pop up like that. So they may have done something with like a reversal of the film or something.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, but it was a real cobra. So again, most of them were non-poisonous. They had non-poisonous snakes and pythons for the majority of them, but the cobra was real. And,
I found a damn snake in my car.
What?
Yeah.
Was it Bert in the airplane, or what was it?
It was Bert. I was like, "Yo, Bert." We're here at the Wawa, and Bert just got out and went and got an iced coffee. No, I was moving, and from the old house, I packed up some box bushes that were like in potters, and I just put them in the car and moved them. And then the next day I got in the car and I was driving, and I was like, I looked down and there was a snake on the passenger side in the floor. And it's because, I should have listened to my mom, because my mom said, when you pack these box bushes up, put them inside of a garbage bag, like when you move them in the car. And I didn't do that. And if I had done that, then it would have been fine, because the snakes, I don't know, maybe it's just a Virginia thing. Like the snakes, like will, I guess in the wintertime, will curl up around the roots of the bush. And so it got out in the car. So I got out of the car and I was like, I have this friend, shouts out to Cheever, my friend. I was like, I need Cheever here, because Cheever would just pick up the snake and just like throw it out. Side note, I was an Eagle Scout. When I was at Boy Scout camp, when I was like 13, they put us in these tents in the woods, and they said, you got to watch out because the tents have black widows. So I was freaking out for the whole week about, the black widow tents. Right. Well, the next year I went, and my friend Cheever was there, and he was like, hey, can I sleep in y'all's tent? And we were like, where? And he was like, I'll just sleep on the floor between the cots. And I was like, dude, there's black widows in here. And he looked in the corner of the tent, and there was a black widow, and he just like grabbed it and threw it out of the tent. Like, dude had like zero fear. So, but anyway, with the snake, I went in the back of the car. I have a crowbar in the back of the car, and I got the crowbar and I like put it down, and the snake like kind of wrapped around the crowbar, And then I just picked it up and then I just let it go. I didn't want to kill the poor snake, especially in the car. And I just let it go. But
yeah. Aaron definitely corrected us. The snake's name was Reggie. That's right.
Reggie. I think Bert's better.
Aaron said, I've always been the snake catcher in my family.
Yeah.
I've never been a snake catcher. Spiders and stuff like that, I'll smash those. I'll take care of any bugs, not a problem. The only things that I've never liked are rats and snakes. That's basically the only thing that gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Those are the two things that come up through the toilet in Richmond. I mean, in Virginia.
Snakes and rats?
Yes, rats. I knew this lady, and she opened the. Oh no, that's only California, sir. No, she opened the lid of the toilet, and there was a snake in there. So, and it crawled up through the sewer. So she called the critter man, and the critter man in Virginia is like, there's always a dude like with a big kind of sweaty beard, like with a Budweiser wife beater on, and he'll just come to your house and he'll be like, oh, you got a snake in the toilet? No problem. He'll just grab the snake out of the toilet and put it in a bag and then leave. I'm not kidding, folks. That's a real thing.
Yikes. Yeah, I can't do snakes and rats. A mouse got in our house the other day, or maybe this was like a month ago. Took a Tupperware thing, caught it while I was freaking running across the room, got it, put it in there, threw it out, then set mouse traps. Of course, it came back, killed it. But rats, man, I've seen some mean rats. I remember walking in Berkeley, dude. I've never seen a rat so big. There was one that popped out of the sewer. No joke. It looked like a freaking small cat. It was ginormous, and there was no fear of people. I was like, good God.
Yeah, well, I lived in the East Village in New York for a year. And so when I was bartending, I would come home and like they put the garbage out. They collect the garbage every day in New York. And they still had the metal trash cans. And I'd be walking. I remember I brought back my lady friend one time. We're going back to the apartment and she was like, you live in the East Village? And I was like, yes, it's fine. Like, I know it's not the Upper West Side, but it's fine. And then she heard this loud clanging sound, and we looked, and a rat had pushed over a full trash can on the street. Like the rat was like this tall, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, where do you live?" And I was like, "Don't worry, it's just a rat like knocking over a trash can." And this guy told me one time on the subway, he was like, "Man, you see the rats? They wear saddles around here, man. Them rats are huge." They're huge. But
I bet. No thanks, man. I could probably handle snakes, especially non-poisonous snakes. I can handle those way more than I could just rats, dude.
Yeah,
even rats aren't as dirty as they are in my mind, but they're just filthy. In my mind, they're just disgusting creatures.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on here. So Indiana Jones, he is now into the Well of Souls, which is covered with thousands of snakes. He's face to face here with the Cobra. Yada yada yada. He's using the fire to keep the snakes away. Now he throws gasoline on them and just catches a bunch of them on fire. Here, Marion is having her way with Belloc, or at least she feels like that's what she's doing. So they're having drinks. She's basically drinking him under the table again, pretending to be more drunk than she is, with the assumption that she has this knife that she's going to use to get away. Now, they drink. They're laughing. And then, I guess it cuts. So here we see Sella. He comes down there. They burnt tons of snakes. And here is the Ark of the Covenant, Indiana Jones and Sella right in front of it, right inside the Well of Souls, guarded by, again, I believe it's Anubis. So let me, here is Anubis for those like curious. He is the canine-headed like god of the underworld. So it makes sense it would be Anubis. God is a funerary rites protector of graves and a guide to the underworld. So a psychopomp, again, usually depicted as a canine or a man with a canine head. So here's Anubis. It could have been statues of Anubis sort of like growling or with his mouth open at him. I would assume that's probably what it was.
Yeah.
Okay. Getting back to the movie. So they're getting ready to open up the Ark of the Covenant. They lift up this heavy concrete block, and then here we see Marianne again having fun, laughing. Then she tries to get away with a knife. This is actually a hilarious. This is so
good.
Totally hilarious.
So good.
So she goes to run away with her knife, joking, and then she runs right into Himmler here, or Tot, and he's got his he's in all black with red, got his Nazi button here. And he pulled out these things. You think, what are these nunchucks? What is this, like a 3-section staff? What is this?
Stick. Yeah, he pulled out his S&M beating stick.
Yeah, it turns out
it's a coat hanger.
It's a coat hanger
with Yakin and Boaz guarding him. He's relieved. I love that Belloc is relieved. Even he's relieved. She hides behind him.
Right. So she kind of goes back and plays both sides. Again, I was reading that I guess Spielberg took out. They were going to make it where Marion, I guess she had like scenes where she was romantically involved with Belloc, and that. So I guess they had more romantic scenes of her with Indiana Jones, and then when Belloc has her with Belloc, where it creates this dilemma, like who is she actually in love with? They don't. I guess they cut a lot of that stuff out. The movie's already an hour and 55 minutes, so it's a good sized movie.
It's the shortest of the Indiana Jones movies, and when I rewatched it, I was surprised that it was under 2 hours. This movie, I think, is also the reason that they got the PG. I feel like I've said that about a different movie, but I think it's this movie is the reason they got the PG-13 rating, like that they started it, because it's a PG rated movie. And then afterwards, like because kids went to see the movie and then they were like, well, it's not exactly a kid's movie. Like it should be a PG. So they became, they started the PG-13 rating after this, even though, I mean, by today's standards, it's, it's whatever. Also, there's not really a reason why she wouldn't have a relationship with Belloc. I mean, he's a charming rake. He gives her the alcohol from his private vintage. So, he's from some, elite family in France or whatever. And why would she have any like thing for Indiana Jones when she said at the beginning of the movie that she was a child, right? And that he, so he's just another guy. Like she's living in Tibet. Her dad was a scientist working for, intelligence. So she's like kind of going around the globe her whole life. She's been made to be a Tibetan barho. So, I mean, there's no reason why she wouldn't, I guess, except for the movie has to have some sort of continuity and keep her with Indiana.
Nice. Yeah. So I guess they cut a lot of that stuff out. So she doesn't play as an important part, I guess, at the way it was originally written. She was going to have more of a prominent role, but she kind of feigns back to Belloc as her protector here, which makes him think that maybe she is still interested. They have a nice little conversation. Now we're back to the Well of Souls, and they are putting the rods into the Ark of the Covenant. So you can see it's glowing. Look at this radiant light, and they're getting ready to pull it out. Ta-da! And here's the cherubim, just as described in the Bible, that topping the Ark of the Covenant are 2 cherubim. And so they got it, and now it's like, well, it looks like the good guys are gonna win. So Indiana Jones has the Ark, and they are getting ready to box it up, take it up top. So you see that they are, again, it's ascending up. Now you have Tot and Belloc. They're walking around, and he notices. So now the sun has risen, and they notice there's a lot of activity over there where they haven't been digging. And so now they're on the run. They get there, and
the sun rises. It's a new day. They look at the Eastern Star, and then he follows it. That's where Indiana Jones is. Also, it's kind of cool how they lifted out of the Napoleonic mausoleum looking thing, which, I mean, it's maybe that was their inspiration for the case that the case for the Ark. So there's the Ark of the Covenant, and then it's inside the case, and that's inside the the big metal thing or whatever down there. And that is what Napoleon's tomb looks exactly like. And then it's cool that they have the poles, because is that what's in the book of Samuel? It says you can't touch the Ark of the Covenant or look at it. Right.
Correct. Well, and that's replete through the Old Testament. So like there's stories about David having the ark, like again in Samuel, where people have died. Yeah, you can't touch the ark. So yeah, that's in multiple places in the Old Testament.
Okay.
So all right. So now they're mocking Indiana Jones because Belloc, just like at the beginning of the movie when he stole the golden head Pachamama from Indiana Jones, he's now stealing the Ark of the Covenant again and leaving him in the Well of Souls filled with snakes and the Anubis statues. They're
going to entomb him.
Yep. And so then they drop his little love item in there as well. And so she is hanging on to Anubis's mouth. Eventually the teeth break and he catches her. And then they're getting ready to close it up here. This is the scene. Apparently the female actress here, which again, you probably know, I don't her name, but she was terrified of the scene.
Karen Allen. Her name's Karen Allen. I wonder if she's the inspiration for the Karen, right? I mean, because she's pretty annoying. They got her from Animal House. She's one of the girls in Animal House. And she didn't, I think she fell off after that big time. But she was in the fourth Indiana Jones, which is, the Crystal Skull one, which is so weird because that's the one about aliens, which is so, stupid. But it's weird that I don't know what this next Indiana Jones is going to be about. There's a new one coming out in July.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know, but it better not be something where like he's skeptical about Christianity again, because if anybody has a reason to have faith, it's Indiana Jones. He's been saved personally by God in 2 movies, right? One, God saves him at the end of this movie because God cuts the ropes, right? And then in the Last Crusade, he finds the Grail, and that gives that heals his dad. So it's like, dude, you've got your empirical evidence. That's what you wanted, right? Hopefully you're not, off like looking for the alien demon gods or whatever again. So that doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Aaron says 4 should have never been made.
Right.
And then everybody's saying what again, shout out to Pano and David Gravy. Wasn't she in Sandlot?
I don't remember. But 4 has Shia LaBeouf.
I guess she's Scotty Small's mom.
Maybe so. I don't remember.
I don't know. Anyway, so Indiana Jones, what he does is rock one of those Anubis statues, gets it to break through because he saw that there was a false wall on one of them and that the snakes were coming into that room through holes in one of the walls, breaks through that wall and sees that there's tons and tons of mummies, which again would make more sense again for Anubis to be those statues. And then he sees a little bit of light. I love how light this rock is, where he can just wiggle it from the inside. So he just kind of pushes it out. Get out of the way.
So he conquers death by conquering death. He's going to die down there, but he lives. So he escapes death by pushing over Anubis, who guards death, and escapes the tomb, if that makes sense. That's probably a far interpretation.
Yeah. And he shatters the separation between the souls, the pharaohs, the mummies, and then the room that is the Ark of the Covenant, because there were no mummies in there with the Ark of the Covenant.
Right.
And it's the Well of Souls.
Right.
The name of the room. So interesting. False wall separating the Ark of the Covenant, and then a room full of mummies and dead bodies, souls. He shatters that barrier and escapes. So then he just kind of pushes this rock out of the way. Now they're looking out and they see these the Nazis got the Ark and they're getting ready to leave. It's kind of a
That's one of those. It looks like a German Batwing. What's the name of the wing like that? It's like a stealth.
Yeah, like a stealth bomber.
Yeah, and it's not
bomber.
actually one, but it's made to look like one. And the Germans had that, but it wasn't the Messerschmitt that was the jet. I mean, that was the jet, the first jet that they had, but it was like is it a sloped wing, a recessed? I don't know what it is, but it's all one wing. So that's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're about to see the big Arm and Hammer guy with the mustache come out.
Arm and Hammer guy, yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
you like to fight?
Here he is. Here he is.
Look at this guy. Damn.
Here he is.
Yeah.
So he's excited. The opportunity. He's got his leather gloves on, which he takes off. He wants bare knuckle. Here's Indiana Jones and of course one of the pilots. So then they kind of just, kind of hilariously fight and punch each other.
You like fisticuffs? That is just my game. Yeah, that guy is in like a lot of this movie. He's in the background or does stunts. And Spielberg used him a lot in the other movies. Like he's kind of an ogre. And this guy, the pilot tries to shoot Indiana, like mimicking the earlier scene where he just shoots the guy.
Right.
But it doesn't quite work.
And then here she comes with her the parking blocks to stop the wheels from moving forward. She knocks the dude out. And then she gets inside and she's locked inside with the body that she knocked out. And she's using the gun she's killing all the Nazis. But she's locked inside. The cars explode. The Nazis are now on the way. Indiana Jones throws old fisticuffs guy. He gets cut up here in the blades eventually.
That dude rocks. Yeah, she commits a mass event, knocking out a whole division of people. She kills more people in this movie than anybody, right?
You're right, actually.
Yeah.
She did.
Typical Karen.
Hilarious. Yeah, she actually did kill more people than anybody
Wait
else.
a minute. Is there a dog inside of that hot plane? I'm going to kill everybody here.
So that's exactly what happens. So eventually the big guy, he gets hit by the planes. The planes get ready to blow up. They run for it. So Indiana Jones and Marion, they're on the run. There's Sella. They all reconvene here in the tent, and they're trying to make a plan. Where is the crate? Well, here's the crate. Here's the Ark of the Covenant there with and I guess it just says property of like Nazi Germany on the side. I asked my girlfriend, like, what's it say? It's like just a stamp saying property of. So we see that here. And then there's Belloc. You see they're getting ready to go on this to take the Ark away. They're looking, and then of course he's on the white horse.
That's right.
Is this reference to the Book of Revelation? I don't know.
So he's the pale rider riding the white horse, and he's also the cowboy. He's it looks Western. He's the cowboy in the sort of a proto cowboy hat. There's a scene in the movie where, that's taken from the movie Stagecoach, which is like one of the classic Western, one of John Wayne's first movies. It's where one of the guys is riding under maybe it's the plane scene where he latches onto the plane and it takes off. But it comes from Stagecoach. Everybody's seen that. It's a black and white John Wayne movie, great movie, where he is under the car. No, it's when he hangs onto the bottom of the Jeep.
Yeah,
and he's in Stagecoach. He's under a coach, and he's like at the front of it, and then he lets go, and then hangs on, and then hangs on again, and then he escapes out the back. So they took this from that. And what's also funny is that this is exactly the same as Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. I mean, in many ways, that's the same movie as this. And this exact kind of scene recurs in that movie because, again, he's riding this white horse.
Yep, exactly. Aaron made a good point. He said, Indiana Jones equals masculine for me as a kid. I don't think Shia LaBeouf could live up to that at all. Another people, Doris Bove said Karen Allen was a theater actress. That's why she stopped making big movies to pursue her theater career, which most people didn't even know she was a theater actress.
I didn't know that. And I'm the theater guy. So that's pretty cool. I didn't know that she went on to Broadway. I thought she fell off and was an alcoholic or something, but that doesn't have to be that doesn't have to be mutually exclusive as a theater actor, right? There are many stories.
Yeah, Karen Allen in 81 was so much more badass than any modern empowered female character. All right. So he said, Doris Bove said, David Graby, yes, Karen Allen was a huge theater star. I even met her in 2012. She did a play called The Summer's Day.
Wow, that's cool. That's cool.
All right, so moving forward now, Indiana Jones is on the hunt. He is taking the shortcut. The bad guys are in the low valley. They're driving through. They got the Ark, and he is on the hilltops with the white horse. And let's see.
I forgot she's also Marion Ravenwood. So her name kind of has a dualistic thing. I mean, Marion gives us a positive sort of etymology. And then when I think of Ravenwood, I think of, Lord Blackwood, in the later Sherlock Holmes movies, the Mark Strong character, who's the Aleister Crowley character. I mean, that's later, but Ravenwood sounds like it sounds esoteric. So maybe that's
esoteric.
That's a conflict. That's some sort of conflict with who she is and her identity.
Edgar Allan Poe reference or something. So here then this is like a classic Western trope, right? Riding the horse, jumping on the truck. So we see this. And that's kind of part of the whole George Lucas B film, incorporating all these other aspects of cinema, basically, and jam-packing it into Indiana Jones. Some of the critics of this movie said that they felt like Indiana Jones was too geared for a mass audience. So George Lucas wanted like a positive role model, all this different stuff. So he wanted basically somebody positive to look up to, and then incorporated all these other aspects of cinema that he liked. So here we see a trope in the Westerns where you jump on the truck from the horse, and then he throws the bad guys out of the truck, and he just takes over here. So then the bad guys are in the truck as well. Now the trope where, again, he falls, like you said, and goes underneath the car, they purposely wanted to highlight Mercedes-Benz role with the Nazis. And so the fact that the emblem bent is trying to make a sort of derogatory statement about Mercedes-Benz, and so
Hotler
intentionally made explicit.
Hotler loved Mercedes, and they were an airplane manufacturer. So was BMW, by the way. People don't know that the logo for BMW is Bavarian Motorwerken and is a propeller. So it's white for the propeller wings.
It's helicopter blades, isn't it? So the blue's the sky and the white's the blade.
Yeah, it's airplane. It's an airplane propeller. Okay. So with the white in the background for the sky, with the blue in the background for the sky, like you said.
Okay, so here he's taking over the truck. This is the famous scene.
So that's Stagecoach. That's John Wayne. That's from the John Wayne movie.
I don't get, how does the leather jacket not ride up? Like you would have to strap that thing in between your legs and have a plastic connector. Because if you were going that fast, that thing would ride up your back so fast that you would just be bareback on all that gravel. It would not be a leather jacket.
Well, he was wearing the S&M coat hanger as a strap. And also, they were like, listen, we're doing cowboys and you need to wear a girdle. Right.
They'd have to, but it's still entertaining nonetheless. Great cinema here. Yep. So just like Stagecoach, then he comes back, throws the guy out finally. Bam. Now he's on the way. He gets this guy on the front of the car. And So then he drives into, again, Sela and Cairo there. You imagine a lot sympathetic figures, allies that are on his side. Drives right into this Omar's garage where they cover it back up as if they've been busy with the market. So the Nazis not sure where the heck they went.
The Jesse points out the VW logo is very similar to a magical rune. Yeah, well, and as we know, VW, Volkswagen, right? The people's car was Hitler's idea. Hitler's idea for a common car that was affordable for people. And it was designed by Ferdinand Porsche. Did you know that? Ferdinand Porsche is the guy who designed the VW, and it is. I mean, it does look like a rune. It looks like the Lieben rune, which is the reversal of like the peace sign. The peace sign is a rune,
right?
So it's the reversal of that. This guy right here is cool because anybody who's deep into movie lore knows that this guy right here played Chocolate Mousse in the Val Kilmer movie Top Secret, which is a kind of a take on spy movies, and he wears a leather jacket in that movie. This guy's kind of cool. Chocolate Mousse was his name.
Hey, Aaron Head's got a question for you. What are your thoughts on the John Williams score?
I mean, it's funny we haven't mentioned that. That's a good point. This is the greatest score of all time. In fact, the best, if you want to find the best version of this score, after this is over, go to the Family Guy clip where Peter is sitting there and does the entire score to the entire Indiana Jones movie sitting on the sofa. It's so good. It's so memorable. It's like the most sweeping score. It's instantly memorable. And yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, great point. Okay. Again, Aaron, thank you so much, brother, for sponsoring this stream. We do appreciate it, man. God bless you and the family. Hope everybody's doing well. Okay, so now we have the Ark of the Covenant. Indiana Jones got it. Seemingly, we see here Marion is with him. Sela is there. We're introduced to this new sort of enigmatic figure, the captain of the boat. Is he going to be bad? Is he going to be good? You kind of have some ominous music playing here. Or maybe it wasn't. It was just you're not so sure like whose side is he on. Is he going to turn on him as everybody continued to betray Indiana Jones? And so they put the Ark on his ship, and they're going to ride it back to the U.S. However, so they get on there, and then they have their little romance in the room. She's got her nice little silk nightie.
That is a fantastic room. If you're going to go on a cruise or whatever, like, I mean, you're about to go to Germany on an Unterseebooten. If you do that, get that room, right?
I think I'm going to be on a U-boat, actually.
Yeah, very classy. Look at that Tiffany crystal fucking that lampstand.
Is that a whale? What is that?
I don't know. There's like trophies back there or something too. That's cool.
I think those are bottles or something.
Yeah.
So now she's going to clean up his wounds and make Indiana feel good because it's all over, though they've already won. So she starts cleaning up his wounds. He's laying there, and then they start kissing here, and then he's out. He didn't even make it. I mean, talking about foreplay, he didn't even make it through the foreplay, dude.
I mean, I don't know if that's like a Chad move or not. Like he's just like, oh, whatever. That reminds me of. Have you ever seen the movie Spring Breakers? James Franco, Gucci Mane is in that movie, and I know that when they were filming it, there's a scene where Gucci Mane has like, there's three ladies who are with him, and like when they were filming it, he passed out in the middle of the scene. Like he was like, "This is nothing to me." Right? This is not new.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So he's exhausted from saving the world from Nazi takeover of the Ark of the Covenant. He passes out. Here we see the Ark down here. It begins to disfigure the Nazi logos, saying it's of German property. And And then here we have the U-boat stops the ship. Harrison Ford or Indiana Jones wakes up noticing that the engines were stopped on the ship, finds out that there is the U-boat, and he begins to hide. There he is. And they are looking for him. They cannot find him. Here, the captain, which you find out here, in fact, that he is on the side of Indiana Jones because he says, I killed him, knowing that he did not kill Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones is in this smokestack up here. And he's basically just asking, can I have the girl? I want to have the woman. And they say, no, we're Nazi Germany. We're going to go ahead and take that. And we're going to take this. And you can be on your merry way.
So he's kind of, I guess he's a Barbary pirate. I mean, I've always thought he kind of looks like a pirate a little bit.
Yeah.
Like he's got his hat's kind of cocked a little bit. He's kind of a roguish figure, like a blockade runner or something. So I guess that's what he is. He's off the coast. He's off the North African coast. But he's friendly. He's friendly to the good guys.
Yeah. So, and he turns out, so in this scene, even though it seems like he's very sympathetic to the Nazis, based on him saying that he killed Indiana Jones, you find out, okay, this guy, he's actually on the side of the good guys, or seemingly so. However, whether he is a pirate or not, that seems like that totally could be also true. Yeah. But the Nazis want to take her, and they want to take the Ark, so they do so, and then everybody's like, well, where's Indy? And then, lo and behold, there he is. he just jumped in the open ocean and swam over onto the U-boat. Nobody saw it or anything. Now he's just gonna climb on in. So
he runs cool. I've always thought he had kind of a cool run. He's got and they're like, yeah,
Indiana's got it.
Yeah.
And so next thing we know, they're pulling into somewhere in the Aegean, some little island somewhere. And here we have the Nazis, and he's already jumped off the U-boat. So that's what I was wondering. Well, did the U-boat go underwater? If it did, he'd have to get inside the U-boat. If the U-boat stayed on top of the water, well, I guess he could seemingly get on it. And then what did he do? He jumped off and swam. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how exactly. Anyways, Indiana Jones, he does what Indiana Jones does.
Right.
So he always comes out on top.
I think U-boats cruised above on the surface because they couldn't dive that deep, because to dive at that point, they had diesel engines and stuff. So they only had limited oxygen, and they had to breathe through what's called a snorkel in the submarine. So they mostly cruised at sea level, but I don't know if that's accurate for this.
That makes sense. I heard they got super, super hot back in the day.
Yeah.
So that would make sense with it with the diesel engine. Okay, so here's Indiana Jones. He's getting ready to actually get on some Nazi wardrobe here. Another comical opportunity. He beats a guy up, but the guy was too small. The clothes don't fit. So fortunately, this guy and my girlfriend was listening to this. I guess this guy comes up to me and goes, "Hey, what are you doing? Why are you taking a nap? You look like a pig. Clean up, my man."
Schwein. So why do you look like a Schwein? I know Schwein, like swine, right? You look like a swine. You look like a Schwein. Yeah. And he's annoying the hell out of him. Of course, he's a big American man. He's a big American man. So the clothes don't fit, right? Because we're the Chads. Yeah.
So there we see the Nazis. They are unloading the Ark of the Covenant here. We see Belloc with various groups, and everybody's really excited to get this back to Hitler. They finally have the occult object that is going to save the Third Reich and be the total dominant world power here. Now we see he's got a jacket that fits, but no undershirt. And he's just walking around as a German soldier. Gives Belloc the shoulder here.
The way that they lift the Ark out of the submarines it reminded me of Apocalypse Now, when we see the cow being lifted up. There's a scene in Apocalypse Now where the cow is lifted up by the helicopter, over where they're doing a communion service, like post battle. So we're supposed to see like that the bad guys are elevating the sacred cow over the over communion, right? And so in this one, it's like the swastika is over the ark, and it's going to end badly in both scenes. And also earlier on, the swastika was burned off of the crate because it's it can't hold you can't put a swastika over the ark of the light of God, right? It's going to burn through it. So I guess that's the symbolism in this,
right?
The elevation.
Yeah, Aaron makes again. He would know, being an engineer. He said this is accurate. The Norberg diesel engines, by the way. So, and then he said, "I love that he checks Belloc."
Right, he does. Yeah, shoulder checks.
So then they continue on, and we move now into they're wanting to perform their ritual. So looks like it almost looks like we're back in like Jordan or something, Egypt, Cairo, somewhere. Walking through the valleys here, and this is on this Aegean island, and they are going to uncover the ark. And what do they find out? There's Indiana Jones with a missile launcher, pointed right at the. Oh, come on, stop! Right there, pointed right at the ark. But they say again, Belloc kind of does his thing. Indiana, you won't shoot it. You appreciate these historical items as much as I do. True. Tells him do with it what you will, but he won't shoot it.
Yeah, he says, do as thou wilt, and calls his bluff, right? Because it's funny, like you think these guys let it go, like let the girl go, or I'm gonna blow up the ark. You would think they would just be like, all right, peace. Bye. Go back to Indiana, right? And then they would just take the ark. What do they care about her?
And it's interesting here because what happens is Indiana Jones obviously ends up winning, but he doesn't do what he wills. Right. So it seems like there may be some little message that's being undiscovered there. So they're doing what they will with the Ark of the Covenant. As much as he would. Indiana Jones seemingly, because he doesn't believe in the ark and he doesn't believe in the spiritual reality behind it, maybe he would blow it up. The only thing that he's not going to blow it up is for Marion, and that he does want to have that and bring that to the museum. But I would figure his disbelief that he wouldn't be totally opposed to blowing it up.
Right.
But anyways, he does not do what he wilts, even though tempted by Belloc. And they then, next thing we know is they then are leading all this towards this ritual. And here we go. So they're tied up to a pole. They're the scapegoat, and we see the Ark of the Covenant up there, and you can already see Belloc like in the back with dressed up as like a
Aleister Crowley.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Yeah. So they're underneath the moon.
That's true. Yeah.
Here's Belloc. So he's dressed in his regalia. He's got like the breastplate of Aaron there. It looks like it's something supposed to mimic that. I assume he's got the ram head staff. So he's dressed in Hebrew regalia, saying Hebrew words of power. I'm not sure what the hat is, so I have if anybody has any idea if that's Hebrew or something. I'm not familiar with that hat.
That's like Aleister Crowley OTO turban.
And what's what it looks like. I don't know where it comes from. Is it Egyptian? Is it Jewish?
Yeah, I think it's Egyptian. There's literally there's a picture of Crowley dressed up in that garb with that hat on with the dagger.
Yep.
And also, do you think that they filmed this? They chose this as the place because we're supposed to read into it like that it's Patmos, like that it's sort of a kind of a Patmos. So we're gonna see a revelation here.
That's interesting. That's
I mean they're on a Greek island. I mean,
it's true, and they're in the Mediterranean. They're in the Aegean Sea. That makes sense. It does make sense. And I thought it was interesting that from the video on the outside, the island didn't look that big. So,
It didn't.
So it looked like they're on this little island, but then they start marching the ark through this whole place. It feels like it's another Mount Sinai event. So I believe Sin in Hebrew was the moon back in the, so like Mount Sinai was a place in which they would go and observe the moon. So here we see again the image of them tied up to the pole. The moon's right above them. Another outside event where they're going to do this ritual. I don't know. It kind of feels like that to me. But
I just realized also that they're tied to a stake overlooking this thing, like they're going to be burned as heretics, but all these people are the ones who are like, especially, you know, the Nazi guy right there is going to be burned. Like he's going to literally melt.
Right.
So they end up being burned. Maybe that's why they did that. I don't know.
Right. So here they begin to open the ark. They take the top off, and the Nazi guy puts his hand in there and grabs the sand and starts laughing.
Yeah, dust thou wilt become.
Right. Well, he starts laughing. Tot Heinrich Himmler over here.
Yeah, he loves it. Right. He's like, yeah. Of course, they're opening it here because they don't want to open it in Hitler's presence and then
not know what's in it. Yeah.
Yeah, and also that was the scene that we just saw, was the scene where the other guy, the Reinhard Heydrich looking guy, says the thing about he doesn't, you know, he's not a fan of their certain kind of rituals. Right.
Yeah, he's not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we won't touch that one.
Yeah.
So it looks like they're disappointed, right? But then they start to look into the ark here, and Indiana Jones tells Marion, "Keep your eyes closed." I'm not sure how he knew what was getting ready to happen, but they saw all the electrical stuff starts to short circuit, starts to blow up, and here we go. We get another reference to a cloud, and so here we see. Looks like a majestic storm cloud.
It looks like a movie screen. Yeah, it looks like a movie screen.
It does. It look like a movie screen. So then smoke, cloud, sand, something starts oozing out from the Ark of the Covenant. And we see the spirits of the dead, again, connects back with the well of souls, start coming out and basically killing people. Everybody but Indiana Jones and Marion. Now, I thought with the whole thing, like, keep your eyes closed, it has to do with, again, when Moses was on Mount Sinai, he has to see the backside of God, because if he was to see God face to face, he would die. That's the whole revelation of Christ, is that God reveals himself so that we can see God through Jesus Christ. That is God, and that is the God that, again, we can see face to face. This one I thought was interesting how they presented it. It felt like that's what they were going at, the idea that Indiana and Marion, if they kept their eyes closed, somehow they were not killed by these spirits. Are these spirits? Is this Yahweh? I'm confused. Again, I was a little unsure, like, what exactly Spielberg was doing with all this, because it's supposed to be the power of Yahweh. So yeah, what was your take on that?
I just see it as, I mean, at the beginning of the film, you know, he has that like 16th century Dutch Bible, and he opens it up and shows the intelligence guys the picture of the ark and the beams, like the fire destroying everyone. So he knows that's what it does. And he knows that their ritual here is what they're doing, like they're opening the ark. So I suppose that's how he knows not to do that. But he at least knows enough that, you know, that when God unleashes the angel of death, that he's at least he knows he's not, you know, he's not worthy. He's not trying to be worthy to look into the face of God with his hubris like these guys are. So I guess the least he could do is shut his eyes. That's how I always read it. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So then they
awesome.
So here they start basically taking souls here.
I always thought that the moon on top of the staff, I mean on top of the stake, sort of resemble. It's like, again, it's like an inversion of the the relic with the crystal on top of the staff of Ra, right? Shooting the light beam, and also look at his face, and also the moon in that scene kind of looks like an eye. I always thought, I had to double take and make sure that it wasn't like some sort of like weird, that it looks to me like an eye, like an all-seeing eye looking down on them. And they're doing like a Masonic ceremony here. So I don't know why that wouldn't be the case with the eye on the other side looking back.
I think it's somebody mentioned it's again, he has the breastplate of Aaron. Maybe it's supposed to be like an old Testament high priest presentation. It's again, I'm not sure.
That dude's face is awesome.
Yeah, I know, right? That's very movie-esque.
Ultimate scared soy face, right? and then Todd does the same thing, but his face literally melts. His face melting.
And he said he goes bye-bye here. So here's Belloc. He's so infatuated with the power of the ark. He's not even concerned with the spirits that are swirling around him. And then the fire of God, which is Orthodox, by the way. Again, we believe that God's love is a river of fire. That's actually part of Orthodox theology, is that God's love is a river of fire, and this is what hellfire is. It's your God's love only burns when you reject God. That's why it burns for people in hell, because they've spent the life rejecting God, and so God's love burns them.
It burns right through their heart in this too. Shoots right through their chest.
And so we see this even being played out here, where the flame and the fire of God, the electricity, ends up killing all these people. And there it goes all the way back up to heaven. And
so they're in the Well of Souls now. So I guess they're the Well of Souls because the portal is above them, right, opening into the sky, which mimics like when they descended earlier into the well where the snakes were. But like the Nazis here, these guys are the snakes, right. And the the portal in the sky opens with the consuming fire.
Yeah, that definitely could be another motif, another play there semiotically. And so here we see you see at the top there, this is the top of the Ark of the Covenant. So it's getting ready to shut itself. So this whole majestic power.
Order.
And their ties are removed.
Yes. God has freed them.
Yes, exactly. God has freed them. And so he freed them from their bondage.
That's right.
Again, another motif to Exodus, another motif, I would even argue, to Christ, who's the true freer of our bondage. And so then they kind of embrace each other. They see the ark. Next thing we know, here's Indiana Jones, his buddy at the museum, or professor, or I don't remember. Maybe it was never made explicit what exactly his relationship is.
Yeah, Marcus Brody. Marcus Brody is his dad, Henry Jones Sr.'s friend. I suddenly remembered my Charlemagne. Let my armies be the bird, rocks in the trees and the birds in the sky. Right. So there's Denholm Elliott, who is the curator of the museum.
What museum is it? Is it the University Museum? Is it a secret museum? What museum? I didn't pick up on that.
It's Big Museum. It's the Royal Society Big Museum. I don't know. Maybe
whose museum is it that they're going on these special operations to acquire archaeological objects of?
It would be probably the British Museum.
I wouldn't be surprised, but they're working. Yeah, I don't know.
They're working with the American.
Looks like they're working for the U.S.
Well, they're working with the Anglo-American establishment, right?
There you go. Yeah, the student of Quigley.
There's Quigley in the background looking at him, right?
There he is, right there.
Yeah. There's Quigley, Alan Dulles, and Lily are there meeting with him.
Yeah, Alan Dulles.
Yeah,
Hoover.
Right.
So here, Indiana Jones then is asking where it is, and all they say is it's the top men are on it.
Top men.
You're not going to be able to hear it because I don't have a speaker on it. But so he keeps asking, "Where's it at? Where's it at?" They promise that it's in good hands. Top men have it, and so you can see he's reunited with Marion, and they are an item. It appears, at least that's the way it ends. She's on his arm.
They're in DC at the bottom of the descending the staircase there, the stairway to heaven. They're, they're descending the staircase. And he does the Sigma move, right? She's like, come on, let's go out on a date and I'll be with you. And he's like, all right, puts his arm out. So they're going to go out. And then we see the old timer, who is, by the way, the best keeper of secrets, right? Is this old fella that they show in the end, who seals up the box. He's got like a cigar in his mouth and a flat cap, puts his little Navy lock on it, and Army Intel number 322, puts it into the warehouse with all of the other relics from around the world that America has from everywhere, including the Stargate taken from the Saddam's palace in Iraq, and then and the alien heads and the crystal heads and all the, all that, and hides it sort of in plain sight in the gigantic warehouse at Fort Detrick military base or whatever. And the score, by the way, the mysterious music for this part of the, John Williams score. And we see that fade out, and that's it. Everything's safe.
That is it. And so that's how the movie ends. We see then basically the U.S. is sitting on all these historical secrets, and it'd be interesting that that to some degree it has to be true.
Yes,
that the federal government and these various government agencies have to have tons of secrets about historical objects and even spiritual realities and the occult, and not that the Ark of the Covenant is occultic. It is not. It's religious, but the whole premise is that they're pursuing these sort of occult spiritual items. But who knows what the U.S. government has under wraps.
Honestly, after the Big 9 invasion of Iraq, when all of the museums and the Mesopotamian articles were looted, that they got to be in a warehouse like this, and the tunnel under Denver Airport or Cheyenne Mountain or wherever
under Denver Airport.
They're at Area 52. And so they got all this stuff, but also, what I read in this scene is that we have these crates all, mixed together in this place. And that again is like in the Well of Souls, when we went down and we knocked over the wall and we saw all the mummies together in the room. So it's just history updating to now, where we have, again, the Ark next to all the mummies. Right. So it'll just, it just recreates itself, I guess.
Right. Aaron said, fantastic stream, gents. Now I have to ruminate on another for the hat trick. Best wishes, brother, on your travels. Well, thank you so much, Aaron, on my travels. Again, I'll be heading to Germany on Tuesday morning. Thank you so much, brother, again, for sponsoring up. Me and BLA are both very appreciative of your support. We'd love to do another one. So God bless you, man. Thank you so much for supporting us. And if anybody wants us to do movies, it seems like you're open to it, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, please. Thank you to Dr. Aaron out there. Thank you for your service, sir. Appreciate you. This was a great time. This is our 9th movie analysis.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah, we've done 10 spots, 9 movie analyses. And so people out there, send in your ideas for movies to DPH. Send in those Benjamins to take this guy's busy. He's an international traveler. He's an international flyer. He's also part of, he's an academic. So he's basically Indiana Jones. Yeah. So, please send in your ideas for films. All the ideas that have gotten to you have all been these have all been bangers. So, great ideas for movies. So please send those in, because we appreciate it. I love doing this. This is a lot of fun. And look, this is where else are you going to get the 3-hour deep analysis of these movies? Yes, JD has 2 books about it. He's the guy, but we also, we got something. And And we've done different movies than that. So I think that we have a good thing going on here, and it's always a lot of fun.
Aaron says, I have one for you, BLA. 6-string samurai.
Okay. Yeah, and a good have you ever seen Lone Wolf and Cub or the 7 Samurai? Those are different from 6-string samurai. But interestingly, that makes me in my Spurg brain here, that makes me think of the fact that Lucas was influenced in his movie making and style and some of his themes by samurai movies because what's the inspiration? Is it Yojimbo? I think it's The Hidden Fortress by Akira Kurosawa is the inspiration for C-3PO and R2-D2. And the 7 Samurai, what is it? Ran comes from King Lear. So that's from Shakespeare. And then the 7 Samurai is the inspiration for A Fistful of Dollars and For a Few Dollars More. No, the Magnificent Seven. That's the Magnificent Seven. That's a Western. And then what is it? One of them is Macbeth. That's Throne of Blood. And anyway, it just shows how art, gets transferred along the line. And something is as bizarrely different from like a Western movie as a Japanese samurai film can have sort of repercussions and inspiration for Western movies. And so it's interesting you bring that up. Sometimes, I was talking to our friend Chase Haggard out there. Shouts out to Chase Haggard. And we were talking about Haggard. Yeah, we were talking about music and stuff. And, he's a musician. And, we were saying, I was saying that sometimes, when artists create, whether you're a painter or a musician or a poet or a filmmaker, it's important to, or even just when you're analyzing, movies and you're looking at them through the lens of, a religious worldview or a geopolitical worldview, it's important to look at things that seem completely disparate from your normal state of being. So in other words, like sometimes you find inspiration and the impressions of things from looking at things that are completely different from your own world.
Right.
So like, for instance, if you're a pop musician, it doesn't hurt to look at like rap music or Spanish music or I don't know, and anything like
flamenco guitar.
Exactly, flamenco guitar. I mean, because art has this way of working in this symbiotic way where things ultimately give you this synthesis. To me, in my what I say on my channel is like, and what I've always thought is that art, again, it works in 2 ways. All art is about 2 things. It's about our relationship with God and our relationship with other people. Every work of art deals. I mean, this work deals with that. It deals with who we are, like why we're here, and how we're supposed to be while we're here. Like, how do we get along with other people?
Art has to be relational, given that it's literally a codification of some type of message.
Right.
So I would totally agree with you. It has to do with your relationship with God or our relationship with each other, because art by necessity necessitates other people.
Mm-hmm.
Like if there's only one person, would there be art? Well, maybe, I guess. That's a question about the nature of man's soul. But the point is that, it's because we're communal, we are relational creatures made in the image of God, and therefore we display beauty and messages and communicate through structures and architecture and paintings and objects for relationships and to convey what's of most ultimate importance.
And the Greeks, even in their polytheistic world, or even in secular Greek poetry, the idea of inspiration is always at the forefront. And so they, of course, the Greeks believe, they're either inspired by the muse, which is a sort of godlike I mean, it's a in the pantheon, speaking to them from beyond. But inspiration is the breath of God, right? Adam is inspired,
right?
God breathed into him. So that's what art comes from God. So I think that even the works of art that are not specifically religious, when you go to the MoMA or the Met and you look at paintings or works of modern art, they still are about who we are and about God, because even in their lack of being about that, because if, for instance, if they are chaotic and if they're postmodern and chaotic, that's their worldview in saying that they don't believe in God, but they still necessarily are grounded in God. So, so that's, I think that's important.
No, I think you're right on. You absolutely nailed it. We have some super chats we hadn't got to yet, so let's read through a few of those. Of course, are always present and generous and busy Dr. Vagisil throws in $1 and says, a side quest at Montanica is for one of us to find Harrison Ford and take him to a liturgy or plant an icon in the background of a scene in 1923.
You may find him. Does he live in Montana? He lives out.
He's going to be there, though. They're going to be filming 1923 while we're at Montanica.
Well, I sent DPH a picture earlier of my godfather meeting Harrison Ford. They met at the Pentagon ceremony for the guy who was Don Trump's Secretary of the Navy, because my godfather and that guy were roommates in college, and then that guy's other best friend is Harrison Ford. So the two met.
Wow. So is Harrison Ford based? I mean, what is the skinny on Harrison Ford? Is he a liberal goober? I mean,
I don't know. I think probably. I think especially like socially, he's probably a social liberal. I don't know. I mean, he's married to Callista Flockhart and all that stuff, and he wears his, I mean, just because he wears his earring when he goes out, that doesn't say anything. But but that is kind of weird. But I think maybe he wears an earring because he's like, look, man, I can wear an earring. I was a roadie for the Doors. Okay, maybe that's his thing. I think he's pretty cool, and I wouldn't be surprised if he was based, just from the fact that he never makes political statements, right? So maybe that's a thing. I know that like Kurt Russell was asked about like his politics, and he was like, look, he kind of had an Elvis point of view, which is where Elvis was asked at a press conference about his feelings about Vietnam, and he said, look, I'd just rather not answer that, and they said, why won't you answer it? And he said, I'm just here to entertain people. I have feelings on that, but I'd rather keep them private. And then they said, do you think all celebrities should keep it private? And he said, no, I'm just doing what I think is right. And I think that's probably the best way for entertainers.
That was Bruce Willis's response. I remember a few years ago, he's like, actors need to act, and they shouldn't be involved in politics because they don't know any better than anybody else.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
You're also necessarily cutting off like half of your dialectical audience,
right?
When you make political statements. I guess the other side doesn't care about that. They're like,
I think they pretty much hate the opposite of what they believe in,
right?
So I don't think they care that much. And the country's so divided at this point.
Yeah.
The gap and the chasm between, I mean, we really do live in different worlds at this point. It feels like.
Yes. Yes.
Next super chat comes from Dr. Vagisil, throws in $1 and says, the Chinese put that symbol, talking about the swastika, on the vegetables because they're reminding vegans that they are totalitarian vegetable supremacists. Interesting. Interesting. I didn't realize that. I'm glad you gave me the skinny on that, Dr. Vagisil. I thought it was just because it was a symbol for the sun, but
no, it's because when you cut a tomato, you can hear it crying.
That makes sense.
That's why it bleeds, because it's
Okay.
I don't know.
That's why. Hey, protect the vegetable. That's why I only eat meat. Dr. Vagisil throws in another $1 and says, Coomers of the lost Vaseline or Vaseline / bad guys melted because the Ark showed them the newest James Bond movie, followed by Michael Bay remake of Schindler's List.
Yeah, well, the last Bond movie was it's funny because the last Bond movie, you remember when they postponed the release of that because of Karanka, right? And they said, oh, well, the movie theaters are closed. But I realized when I watched it that that's not why they did that. They postponed it because the movie is about Karanka. It's about
Mm.
the coof. It's because the bad guy in it, whose name, by the way, is Lucifer in the movie, owns a at the end of the movie, he goes to his neo-Gnostic poison garden and he has given everybody the implant and they're getting the stabby. Everyone in the world is getting the stabby, and that's how they're going to control them. So the movie really is like, when you watch it, you're like, this was too close to home. So they released it later because if you watched it when it came out, everybody would be freaking out. They'd be like, if they had any mind, they probably wouldn't have had the eyes to see it.
It probably predicted programming like, oh, this
Yeah.
is like the movie. Let me get it.
Right. Exactly. In fact, I can't even see the movie without it. Right. the beautiful slow boy at the door at the Regal Cinema is going to ask me for my stabby card.
Yeah.
And I got to have it. I mean, he's the expert. He's the authority. So
yeah, I always trust him with my medical advice.
Right.
Dr. Badgersill throws in another $2. Shout out to Dr. Badgersill. I loved Caitlyn Jenner in Titanic as both love interests. Or was it Frankie D playing Django in 50 Shades of Willie Jenkins? There is no crying in baseball unless Harvey Weinstein is in the locker room.
Oh my gosh. So that's a lot. That's like A League of Their Own and Titanic. And yeah, there's like a lot of mixed stuff there. That's pretty good.
A lot of moving parts there from Dr. Badgersill. Next one comes from Nick, throws in $10, says, glad to catch you guys live. Appreciate the fun and educational content. OPOP, OPOP. Nice.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much, Nick, for the $10 super chat. God bless you, brother. And thank you so much for the support. And again, a major shout out goes to Aaron for sponsoring this stream. Dr. Vagisil throws in another $1 and says, the crates contain each president's toxic search history, along with Osama bin Laden's rookie card. Shame his career was cut short, allegedly.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. The Ace of Spades with Saddam on it. You remember they had those?
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, that is crazy that the invasion happens and they're like, all the tourists are on a playing card, right? And they're like, we're looking for the Ace of Spades, and that's, they're death cards, I guess. And then that makes all the people out there be like, oh yeah, the Ace of Spades, I mean, that is crazy.
I think it's so crazy that I saw on Twitter, one of the videos that's kind of been re-emerging for, I think, the Gen Zers, is to see that when 9/11 happened, there was a list of countries that were going to be taken down. They thought it was going to be done like 7 countries in 5 years. Again, none of them had to do with 9/11, as we know. None of these countries will say were Israel or Saudi Arabia.
Right.
But basically, it's like it was kind of a red pill, if you will, for the Gen Z to see who is in control of the military and how the U.S. military is basically taking out enemies for other nation states so that they don't have to.
Mm-hmm. Were those the same 7 countries that were put on the list of the listen, folks, we got these. Somebody told me there were shithole countries. I didn't call them that. That's what we call them, but they're officially called that. You can't travel to the shithole countries. Right? You remember that? That was in the press conference. That's what they said. That was so crazy, man. That was wild. That was in the press release. If you have a U.S. passport, you can no longer go to the shithole countries. That's what it said.
Oh my gosh, that's
crazy.
Hilarious. And then our last super chat over on Streamlabs comes in from a premium member and longtime supporter and personal friend of mine, Thomas Henderson, throws in $20 and says, Patrick, a small donation towards your airplane food. Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Enjoy your trip. Any leftover contribute to Hensley's book fund.
Thank you. I need that. Yes. Thank you so much. Thomas Henderson, who sent me a nice super chat last night on my stream and is always a good friend to all of us and helped me out with my book fund. I do need money for books.
Me too.
I need, we both need books. And do you like
I gotta
airplane
catch up
food?
with Dyer's library. He's got way too many books compared to me. It'd be okay if I had that many books, but I feel I feel left out.
Well, somebody on Kristen's stream got annoyed at my bookcase because they were
Why?
annoyed with the book because they don't read books and they were spanking it to Minecraft. I mean, honestly, like no, but this isn't even my library. I'm just in the living room. I just like the bookcases because they're white and it's a brighter room. I'm not even in the library, but I need books that are I need more lit books. I need more literature books so I can cover them on my stream. And
Yeah,
we both
I was putting in your name for the thumbnail, and I see then I put the period after lit for obviously abbreviation of literary, Bayes literary analyzer or literature analyzer. But I was thinking it also plays just like you're a Bayes like lit, like that's lit analyzer too. So if you didn't have the period, but I was like, because I look back and I was like, the last couple I didn't put the period after the T.
Yeah.
And I put it after this one. I was like, I guess it kind of plays both ways phonetically. Like,
well, that was my master plan. I did that so that the Zoomers would think it was lit and they'd pop into an Elder Scrolls stream or something. And I put the analyzer because analyzer is not a word; it's an analyst. And I actually got that from Jay, who was the Bayes analyzer in one of his streams, like in Nashville. And I'm glad I put the Z. Also Gen Z, right? I'm not a Gen Z, but I'm glad I put the Z because you saw that based was on the list of watchwords on the list. So I'm glad that's why I didn't put it because I figured that would happen in the future. So I had some foresight for that.
Wow. Jeez, man. I didn't realize you had such high superpowers.
Yeah, I'm like a wizard.
It feels like it.
I'm like the Sufi wizard that we saw in
I'm starting to think so. Yeah, you're the imam. You're reading the medallion, bro. You're reading the medallion before you have the medallion. That's what's kind of scary here. Willie Jenkins throws in $2 and says Dr. Vagisil is Mossad. Whoa, shots fired. Dr. Vagisil. If this is true, this is breaking news. I did not know. He may, in fact, be security for DeSantis. I saw that DeSantis is working for the state of Israel at this point as well. So, Dr. Vagisil, you got some explaining to do, buddy. Willie Jenkins, thank you for putting that out in the public. I'm glad that we know now.
Well, the good doctor better respond with a
tourist.
Yeah, he better respond with a super chat and make sure that he states that that's not the case, right?
Yeah. So thank you so much, Willie Jenkins. God bless you, bro. And I want to thank everybody who threw in some super chats over on YouTube. Again, special shout out to Willie Jenkins. Special shout out to Frankie D. And special shout out to Mud and Willie Jenkins for gifting some memberships here to the YouTube on the YouTube site. And special shout out to Charisma Mysterion and then Willie Jenkins, bro. Willie Jenkins, God bless you, bro. Thank you so much for the super chats tonight. Just in Dr. Vagisil for $1. He says, does Mossad tell people to stop watching porn and slap soy out their mouth and give Bibles and steaks? Willie Jenkins is the real Mossad because he is Illuminati putting let's say he has dick in his name to subvert America. So I don't think Dr. Vagisil took too kindly to Willie Jenkins. I feel like there's some real tension here. So it looks like Willie Jenkins says he's shots fired both at Frankie D and Dr. Vagisil. So we got something really cooking over here. But BLA, shout out everything that you're doing, anything you want to promote, anything you want the people to know about. I know you're a busy guy, and congratulations on your exposure, man. Congratulations. You said you're doing a TNT sponsored film analysis.
Well, I'm doing, I've done, please go back and look. You can go to my community tab on YouTube, Bayes Lit Analyzer. You can follow me
on your links in the video description, but also click his name. I added your name in the title on YouTube. So if you're on YouTube, you can just click his name in the title, take you straight to his page.
Yes, you can follow me on Instagram, and I put those posts up. And I've done 3 appearances now on TNT Radio Live. with our boy Hesher. Thank you so much to Hesher out there. We all know Hesher from Boiler Room, from listening for many years. Jay was on Boiler Room for many years, and Hesher has been very kind. And I was on there with him and Ruckus. And I did the prime time, the drive time spot last Friday. I did an hour long on there with Joseph Arthur and Ruckus. And we did kind of a geopolitical analysis of the situation in Northern Ireland, with all of the big pyramid globalist people hanging out there, and then of the peace process there and Good Friday Agreement. Then we talked about literature this past Friday. And hopefully, I'll be back on there. Also, I was supposed to be on Boiler Room last Thursday. His server melted, so
Wow.
but you can catch me hopefully on Boiler
Content's
Room,
on fire over there
talking about this stuff. So listen, look out for me there. Again, I'll be doing analysis of the movie Network with Jay Dyer, Jay's analysis, in a couple weeks. And go and look at my analysis last night of post-apocalyptic literature. I did one on Fahrenheit 451 recently. I've got Cormac McCarthy coming up, and we'll be doing more Shakespeare. A bunch of content coming up. I'm at almost 1,960 subs here. I'm trying to get up to 2,000. I'm almost at 100,000 views. Please, you've been so helpful for, you got all these people over to my channel, and so if
I
you
think
have
most of my audience knows you or subscribed to you.
Yeah, so if you haven't subbed, please.
We're always getting new people over here. So anybody who isn't familiar, if this is your first time seeing BLA, go follow his channel, smash that like. I'm telling you guys, you'll love his content. If you like anything I do, you're going to like what he does. Different, but approached in a very similar way, incredibly in-depth. So go give our brother a subscription. Go subscribe to him and help him out.
Yes, and I'm trying to when I get to that 2K, we're going to do a big party stream again. And if you want to sponsor a stream, you can do that. You can go to my channel, look at the links in the channel description, and you can donate. You can help me out. And we're going to keep rolling through literature. And other than that, I've got a thing coming up for I'm speaking at an event for one of my old teachers who is retiring, and he was the poet laureate of Virginia. I'm going to speak for him. My parents are coming to visit next weekend, so I'll have fun with them. Summer's coming up, and hopefully I can get to like some meetup in the future. I can't get to Nashville for this one, where JD is doing his thing with Owen Schroyer and all that. But hopefully we can have something in the future I'll be able to get to. And please reach out to me. Drop me some ideas for content, sponsor a stream. And thank you so much, man. This has been awesome. Really fun.
Brother. Always love when you come on. I think the Crucible, I think I'll be doing a meetup with Rachel Wilson and Andrew Wilson.
Sweet.
I'm not sure when. I think it's the summer. So we'll definitely keep you in touch. If you're available, you should definitely join us. I think it's at a water park, actually.
Oh, sweet. We're going to go to Water Country, USA. Yo, I'm down, dude. Let's do it.
Yeah, I think it's literally like an online person meetup, but it's at a water park.
Awesome.
So I think it's like drinking and water slides.
Well, listen, if we go there, if we have that meetup, I challenge you and Andy and Base Homeschool Mama and anybody else there to hold your breath longer than me underwater or beat me in a swimming competition. I will dominate. I can hold my breath for 5 minutes and 31 seconds underwater.
Or how do you
No, man, I'm from, listen, I went to private school. I'm wearing my khaki shorts and my boxers, and I'm still I'm gonna swim butterfly. All right, and I'm gonna dominate. All right. So
we had some more shots fired here. Willie Jenkins says Dr. Vag is a flat earth shill for NASA. Did not know that one either. I did not know that one either. That is breaking news. And then Dr. Vagisil, he came in. He's not too happy with what's going on here, that he's being slandered like this publicly. Dr. Vagisil said, please pray for Wise Willie. He clearly had too much communion in his drunk texting. So anyways, guys, thank you so much. That's going to do it. Special shout out again to Willie Jenkins. Special shout out to Dr. Vagisil. Special shout out to Thomas Henderson. God bless you, brother. Special shout out to Nick. And all you guys, smash that like. Again, make sure you go subscribe to BLA, Bays Lit Analyzer over on YouTube. Follow him on Instagram. Support our brothers. send him your love and appreciation. And I will be going to Germany Tuesday morning. I may, depending if I get all my packing and everything done tomorrow, do an open panel stream tomorrow night asking what is the red pill, seeing what different people's opinions are on that one. But I may not. So this might be the last time you see me for a minute.
So how
I may
long?
do a stream over in Germany. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, you should. How long will you be gone?
2 weeks.
Oh, nice.
That's long for me, dude. I have not taken 2 weeks of not making content since I've gone full time making content on this channel. So,
you're going to go there and you're going to have fun and be with your
sure.
loved ones, and that's important. You know, it's important to take a fortnight away. But if you do stream, man, it'd be cool. It would be cool to see it. You got to be an airport dad. Okay, when you go to the airport. Okay, if the flight's at 8 a.m., you got to get there at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
All right. You got to have your passport. Make sure all your documents in order. Don't take any shampoo. Okay, and get ready for the TSA sassy lady to yell at you. Okay, but you know,
my gosh, and I gotta go through TSA twice because I'm gonna have a checked bag, so I'm not gonna be able to take it on. So I got to check my bag. I thought I was gonna have a ride to Chicago. Flights internationally out of Chicago so much cheaper. However, the person who I thought was going to take me really doesn't want to go to Chicago, so I got a flight from Indianapolis to Chicago, which aren't that expensive. But that means I got to check my bag on that one. And then I got to get my bag in Chicago. So I got to go get it from luggage. Then I got to go back through TSA to go get to my gate in Chicago and wait for that one to go to Dublin and then Dublin to Frankfurt.
Well, here's my key. Okay. So when I'm going through TSA and that sassy lady says,
you just drop the draws right there. And just
when she says, just take off all your clothes and walk to the total recall machine, just butt naked, right? I'm here. This is what you want. No, when she says, put your damn laptop on the table, right? I always go, oh yeah, okay. And then they always go, oh yeah, okay. I like your attitude, children. Right? Just smile when they give you attitude, and then they wave you right through.
So I will keep that in mind.
Yeah, just thank you.
I hope that works.
Yeah.
Melaforta says that German airports are awful. I don't know. I've never been to Germany. You been to Germany?
Oh yeah, yeah. I spent a month going through. I walked across Liechtenstein from Switzerland to Austria, across the border. I walked across the whole country. I was in Austria, Denmark, and Germany. I spent a lot of time in the Schwarzwald, the Black Forest, and in Munich and Frankfurt am Main. And so Germany's, I mean, the plane, listen, once you arrive, everything's going to run on time, especially if you have to take the train anywhere. That's all I'm going to say. All right. That's terrible, but it's true.
They have a pass for the month of May for some reason where 50 euros and you can use like basically the train system inside Germany unlimited.
Yes.
So I got that. Yeah. So
Good
I
deal.
think I'll be able to then make a trip over to Munich, get over to Bavaria. So that should be fun. What all the cities did you hit when you were there?
I was in.
I'm not going to be hitting northern, so no Hamburg, no Berlin for me.
Right. Yeah, I was in Frankfurt, Munich. I went to see a friend at University of Tübingen. I went to the Schwarzwald. I hiked through the Schwarzwald, the Black Forest, Baden-Baden.
Yeah, I'm not far from the Black Forest. Stuttgart isn't too far.
Yeah, it's amazing. That pass is good because you know it's very easy to get around. I had an Interrail pass when I was there, so I got to 5 different countries, sort of back and forth. But yeah, it's beautiful. Munich, especially. Go to the Hofbrauhaus.
Yeah,
go to the Hofbrauhaus. Go to the go drinking.
I am going to get some German beer, that's for sure. Genghis Khan says enjoy the beer. Definitely will.
If you did go to Berlin, you'd have to go to Berghain, right? You've seen Gestafelstein. In concert.
I have.
I've seen him. You got to go to. Yeah, you got to go to Berghain.
I didn't even know who he was until I saw him live. Where I was at. So how I came up with Gestafelstein is I was at a concert. This was in Chicago. This is like a big Halloween multiple festival night thing. and Armin van Buren was on, so he was the headliner. So me and my buddy, we go over there, and he's gone, and it just wasn't really hitting, and we're like, it's kind of weak, and everybody's there. It's like, I don't know, this is like the big name for the, and then you just hear something just bumping on the side. So we go, and it's Gestafelstein, and it's just a small little room, and it was so loud, and it was incredible. And so that dude's another level.
Industrial Electro from the Dark Prince of Techno, Gestafelstein on Bromance Records, right? Playing that song, Belgium. You ever heard that song?
Yes.
Belgium. It's awesome, dude. That's so cool. Yeah.
So, Slow Boy Whiteboard said I thought the German airport was amazing. Couches and recliner living room lounges you can smoke in.
Yeah. The best flight I ever took was Scan Air, the Nordic airline, because even in coach, you had like your own booth and you could recline and lie down. You had every move. Well, the best flight I ever was on was Virgin Atlantic, because I was on the top tier. I was on the upper deck, and they give you champagne when you get on and all this stuff. But in the Copenhagen airport, they had these little booths, and it's like guys sitting around like named Hans, and you could smoke cigarettes and drink coffee. And there was like this suction thing above the little cafe table that sucked the smoke up. And like, if you didn't smoke when you went there, it was very uncouth. Right. And they were playing.
You did not smoke?
If you didn't smoke, it was very uncouth. You had to walk in and say, das is very good. Yes, I'm here for the architecture convention. You know?
Dr. Vagisil, again, he is very frustrated with Willie Jenkins. He says Willie Jenkins is the one who's going to frisk you at the TSA because he's a very sassy lady. Just kidding. I love Willie without the rainbow flag, because I would be Mossad, but I'm really not.
No, the person who frisks you is going to be a sassy lady named Minerva. Okay.
Minerva.
Yeah. Listen, you got any cats in this bag? Right.
Wow. Well, I'm ready. So I am ready. I don't know what I would be getting into, but it'll definitely be a new experience.
Right.
And like I said, we'll be doing 4 days in Thessaloniki. So I'll be seeing Greece for the first time. Not as long as I'd want to, but you can't fit everything in there. So hopefully we'll get some Heidelberg. We'll definitely get Stuttgart. Hopefully we'll get I'll get a little bit of Frankfurt. Like to get a little bit of Munich. And then we'll get some Thessaloniki and maybe Zurich. I don't know. I heard Switzerland's kind of boring though.
No,
but I would like to see the Alps.
Switzerland rules. It rocks, dude. You would love Switzerland. It's amazing. It's like, it's almost hallucinatory how beautiful it is. I mean, it's crazy. The mountains, and I've been to Zermatt, and I flew into Zurich and went all around Switzerland. Switzerland is amazing. It's otherworldly. Very cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm down. I'm not trying to go to club scene, so I think maybe they're talking about it shuts down kind of early there in Switzerland. The nightlife isn't so much, which is fine with me.
I mean, I'm
old. I like getting my sleep, so I'm more of a day traveler.
Yeah. No, it was. I don't know where those people were staying, but it was. I was out all night. I mean, I had a great time.
Yeah. I don't know. So maybe they just didn't know where. Maybe they just weren't in the know.
Yeah.
But where Stuttgart is basically closer than Munich is like Strasbourg, France, and Zurich.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I may check out those places. Yeah, it's
cool.
Really nice having a U.S. passport, because it's so much easier for us to go to Europe than for Europeans to come here.
Yeah, yes, especially when they have to go through customs on the way. And I'll tell you about when I was coming back through customs, and I was coming back from England, and we get to New York, and I was with my girlfriend from England, and the customs guy was like, "You have to separate. Do it right now." Right. And it's like, she's an English girl. Like, you would think, I don't know, they would be treated differently than, I don't know, other places, but they're like, get over in that line. I mean, she was very scared. And I remember getting up to the thing. I'm American, so I get to go, right through the thing. But right before I had to hold up, because they said, hold up, and they had this lady from Venezuela or something, and they were screaming at this woman, and they were saying like, "Open your bags. Do you have snails in your bag? Do you have snakes?" And she was like, and I was like, "What the fuck are they talking about? Like this poor old woman, this abuela, she doesn't have no snakes or." And then they took her suitcase, they opened it up, and a damn snake crawled out of her suitcase, and she had tin cans full of snails. So I was like, oh my gosh, no wonder they're doing all this. This is crazy. I'm serious.
Oh my God. I thought it was funny that they thought that. That's even crazier that she had all that stuff.
Yeah. Also, when I was in Austria,
I heard Austria is beautiful. I'd love to go to Austria.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I went to Mozart's home in Salzburg, and then across the street there was a little shop, and they sold like switchblades and daggers. So I was like, all right. So I bought like 9 knives, right? And I had them in my bag. This is post Big 9 event. Had them in my bag, and I got to the airport in Austria, and the guy was like, they were in my carry-on. And the guy, I went through the X-ray, and the guy was like, "Was are these? Why are you carrying these?" And I was like, "They're daggers, man. They're knives." And he goes, "Okay, free to go." And I just get on the plane, and I just went. Like that would never happen now.
No,
yeah,
absolutely not.
I guess it was my American passport.
There'd be a dog biting the back of your neck.
Yeah, it was an American. Exactly.
All right. Well, hey, brother, thanks again for hopping on here. Again, shout out to Aaron Head for sponsoring tonight's stream. And thank you, everybody, for being here. And if anybody would be interested in potentially sponsoring another stream with me and BLA, feel free to go to the website and purchase that. We would love to come on. Let us know what movie. We will watch it, and we will do another breakdown. Thank you again, brother. God bless you. And it's awesome to see how busy you are and how things are picking up. If we can help you in any way, man, let us know.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me again. And Godspeed on your travels. And we hope to hear from you soon.
Thank you, man. All right. Well, I will potentially, not going to promise, but potentially see you guys tomorrow. But that could not happen. So this may be the last time I see y'all in a while. So I will see you next time, whenever that may be. But until then, as always, God bless.
Peace.